Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Normal people believe that if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Government believes that if it isn't broke, it doesn't have enough additions to the proposed bill. Good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell on a Wednesday. Man, did we get some snow last night? Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Wednesday, slipping and sliding out there. Oh, there she goes. I just love listening to that voice. Kate Smith, and God Bless America. And good morning to you. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great, great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call 734-6969. And I was absolutely shocked when I talked to this lovely lady earlier this morning and found out that you don't have any snow, Gina?
No snow, and I'm not complaining.
You ought to be here slipping and sliding.
I'll pass on that offer, thank you. It's really, really cold, but no snow, and I'm glad for that.
Let me tell you something. Last night, or actually yesterday afternoon, it started coming in here pretty doggone good at about 3:30, 3:45, and it is nasty. I think Deanne said right here we got about 5 or 6 inches on the ground.
Really?
And drifts. A lot of drifts because of the wind conditions last night.
Yeah, so please be careful out there on the roadways.
And I've got 14 here. What do you have over there?
Last I looked, it was like, 12.
Ooh.
It was cold.
Not a day to wear the little short shorts.
No, not the day to go out with a wet head.
Oh, my, no. Can you imagine what that would look like after 30 minutes standing outside? You'd have Frisbees that would be frozen. You could hang clothes on your head.
That's it. I walked out of the house with still wet hair, and so it was kind of crunchy.
That's a good way to get pneumonia, girl.
Well, you know.
Yeah. Do we have a pledger?
We have Mr. Rotten on for the pledge and Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Very good. All right, Rotten, go ahead, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Man, you did it.
Despite of Obama and the liberals.
There you go. God bless you. And how is that wonderful, charming, quiet, timid wife of yours this morning?
Do you want to come and help me get up off the floor now?
Oh, go give her a hug for us, would you please?
She won't let me.
Okay, well, I understand your problem, your dilemma. Have a good day, though. Okay, have a good one. Oh, I love those people. Really nice folks. It is time now for the weather forecast, and this gentleman, MichaelRogersWeather.com, is going to tell us how many clothes we have to wear in layers. It's cold out there, Michael.
Good morning, Good Bell, 13 degrees in beautiful downtown Murtaugh. I have advertised we got the cold weather, the front has passed us, and now we're going to see these cooler temperatures for today, also for tomorrow. 25 for the high, 10 for the overnight low, 21 for the high tomorrow, 5 above for the overnight low Thursday night. I'm not kidding. That is single digits, and that is cold. Snow in the forecast for Friday. Look for a high right around 27, the overnight low 18, but otherwise, we finished up one storm, getting ready for another storm, and the bottom line with the weather for the remainder of this week going to be cold. Back to you, Zeb.
All right, buddy, thank you. MichaelRogersWeather.com, and I think he is absolutely the greatest weatherman in the world. Hey, don't forget our friends at Valley White Home and Ranch. They've got live Christmas trees over there. Oh, yeah, they got a Christmas tree that'll just fit right perfect inside your living room. And all the new Ariat boots for ladies, and all kinds of winter clothing. And they got hay over there if you need hay, and they've got straw, and they've got all kinds of things like a kids coloring contest. Pick up the picture, color it, bring it back to Valley White, and the winners will be picked the week before Christmas. Hey, buddy, it's all there. The family store, the farm store, and the ranch store, Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, with some really, really nice people. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Before I get into my first topic this morning, I want to also say thank you to the Book Plaza with Colonel Dale. One of the nicest people, honestly. He's going to win the Nice Award every year. He's just really a nice man. The Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley. And stop in and check out your Christmas gift-giving needs. I mean, over 200,000 books. I didn't count them, but they've got somebody that did. And they're new and used, and they've got all the religious books. They got 3 floors of gifts and books. You'll find what you want, along with crafts and art supplies, greeting cards, everything. You won't go home empty-handed. From the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. I got to tell you that yesterday was quite an experience for me, due to the fact that of all the broken bones and all the accidents that I've had in my life, I have never had an MRI in the bullet tube, so to speak. I've had all the examinations and x-rays and everything you can imagine, but I haven't gone into one of those tubes where your nose hits the ceiling and you can't turn, literally like living inside of a bullet casing. And me, Mr. Claustrophobic, oh my goodness. I always, when I go to a doctor's office or someplace like that with a small waiting room, I always get up and open the door. I always, when I'm on a flight, I take the aisle seat. Regardless of where I'm going, I don't care if it's a little puddle jump to Salt Lake, I take the aisle seat. Can't handle being on the inside. And I always avoid getting on a crowded elevator. If it's crowded, I'll wait for the next one. If I have to wait for 37 elevators, I'm going to wait. And like the one down at the Blue Lakes Country Club, have you ever been on that elevator? It's just big enough. It's like a coffin that goes up and down. And I never sit in the middle of a vehicle with people on either side. No, I just am claustrophobic. Well, when I got into that MRI yesterday, and I looked at this thing and I thought, Lord, we're going to have a problem here. And I would heartily suggest you give me some super strength, because I might be the first person to tear this entire building apart. Whoa! I had to have a blindfold on. I'm not exaggerating. I'm being honest with you. I had to have a blindfold on. And I got inside that tube, and my nose was just up against the ceiling of that thing. And Mr. Claustrophobia had to do and resort to any and all items, and prayer to the good Lord above that I didn't come unhinged inside that thing for about, 31, 32 minutes? Don't want to do that again. And for those of you that have had MRIs, and those of you that have had no bother, I salute you. I commend you. Me, don't want to do it again. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I was sweating. I looked like I had run up and down a basketball court 900 times. Didn't like it. Hey, I know somebody that you will like, and that's Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop, 1243 Blue Lakes Boulevard in Twin Falls, 736-2490, the number to call for guys that can fix your crinkly fenders. If you've had an accident or a fender bender, they can make it look brand spanking new. Undetectable. These guys are the best. iCar certified, only shop in the Twin Falls area as such. They know their business, and they'll help you. Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop, 736-2490 at 1243 Blue Lakes Boulevard in Twin Falls. Gina, have you ever had one of those MRIs? She's gone. Huh?
Once, when I had when my appendix burst.
Really? And it was the bullet tube type or the clamshell type?
The bullet tube type.
You're tougher than I couldn't handle it.
For me, I'm not very claustrophobic. My ex-husband, who was a very, very large man, he had plenty of those, and he hated it. Number one, he couldn't fit in it. Number two, he's claustrophobic like you, and so it was kind of a freak-out moment for him.
I'm telling you, when that gentleman that was running it, very nice man, he said, now take your arms and hold them down along your sides and then bring them over to the top of your midsection, and because my shoulders are so big, and I barely fit in there because of my shoulders.
Yeah, you felt like you were a sardine in a can.
Yeah, and then he says, would you like a blindfold? And I said, what are you going to do, line me up against the wall and shoot me or something? I said, holy cow. And he said, well, you mentioned that you were claustrophobic. And I said, do I mention it? And he said, might work if you have a blindfold on. And that was my savior. Really, it was. Oh, yeah.
Did it give you any Valium or anything?
No, I asked for about a case of blackjack, but they didn't give it to me. I'll tell you that, man. I know one thing, and I know a lot of people out in the audience might be offended by this statement, but if I ever have another one, I'm going in there looped like you can't believe.
Sometimes it's best that way, or you go in sleepy or something. So have them give you something to calm you down, because claustrophobia is a big issue when it comes to those MRI machines because they're so dang tiny. But for me, I fit in just fine.
Oh, yeah, you or Deanne, but me, I'm a big guy, and I get in there, and I can feel that, my nose on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And I'm going to myself, this isn't going to work. And I said on the intercom, I said, how long did you say I'm going to be in here? And he said, roughly about 31, 32 minutes. And I thought, that's 31 minutes too long. I don't know if I can handle this.
See, that for me, perfect nap time. Perfect.
Oh, sleep in there with all that noise?
You can make it happen.
Not in my lifetime.
You've got a phone call.
Okay, I'll take that call in just a minute. Hey, don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox, and they're located in Rupert at 530 East Street, right on this. Oh, I'm telling you, the food over there is tremendous. You are going to love it. You better order your Christmas holiday treats right now, and order them by December 23rd so you can enjoy the great food. Oh, my, the homemade rolls and loaves of bread and cookies and cinnamon rolls. Their cinnamon rolls are the size of a Spalding football. They're huge, for heaven's sakes, and delicious. Oh, my goodness, you're going to love the food. Love the people at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I have had several of those MRIs, and there's one in Twin Falls that I don't mind at all because it comes in two pieces, and you can look out and see what's going on.
Oh, now that I could handle. That I could handle.
I have plugs in my ears.
Huh?
I can't stand the noise.
Oh, the noise. They gave me these earplugs, and honestly, I thought it was a Grateful Dead concert.
Anyway, but that one with the slits in it, it was wonderful. I could look out and see what was going on.
I could handle that, but Helen, my dear friend Helen, you're going to think a lot less of old Wussy Zeb, but I got in that thing, and about halfway through I thought, nope, ain't going to work. Lord, take me now, because I'm going to wreck this whole thing.
I understand, and I appreciate what you feel, because at one time I did feel like that. I was in a tube, and but that other one was really nice.
I told him, I said, you better have this thing I'm laying on a bungee cord pulled tight, because when I say out, I mean not in 10 seconds, 20 seconds, I mean like now, partner.
Right on.
Okay, God bless you. Have a good day.
Have a good one.
Woo! I'm telling you, I was not ashamed to admit it. I am petrified. My wife knows all about my little idiosyncrasies about being closed in. And like, when we went down to Salt Lake City to visit at University Hospital with the doctor that's going to do my surgery, you're sitting in these little waiting rooms, for the doctor to come in and with his white coat and everything to say, well, hello, Mr. Bell, how are you? Dumbest question in the world. If I was great, I wouldn't be at the doctor's office. Anyway, the door closes. The nurse always comes in and gets the information, then closes the door. You do not ever close a door with me in a small waiting room. Not going to work. But yesterday, I'm very proud of myself. I got to tell you, I'm sorry to brag, but I'm very proud of myself that, A, I did not disrupt, tear apart, destroy, or absolutely vandalize the equipment. B, I made it through, and I'm patting myself on the back. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Oh, and of all people I saw yesterday was Mr. Oh, my goodness, here's Al.
Well, oh, my crap. But I've been through that, done that, and I'll tell you what, it's no fun.
Am I exaggerating?
Not really, because I used to climb the tailpipes in these jet aircraft, like down at the airport, checking them impeller blades, and I never was, phobic there, but boy, they put me in that one in Twin Falls, and I said, you get me the hell out of here right now.
Oh, this gentleman, though, that works there and put me through it, he was so friendly, and he had such a empathetic feeling as far as, I know, now just be cool. Everything's going to be all right. I'm with you. I'm right here. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. You are not with me. I'm in this bullet tube with my nose up against the ceiling. Do not try to be condescending to me by telling me you're with me. I'm in here all by myself.
I know. I told that guy, I said, get me the hell out of here, 'cause I can't breathe. And he said, well, try it. And I said, I can't. My belly's too big. And he laughed, and I said, get me out of here. He did. But I can't figure out why they put you in that tube when all he was looking at was your knee.
Well, they had to scan everything, I guess. But, oh, man, I'll tell you what. I'm not ashamed to admit it to the world. The world knows now I'm a coward when it comes to claustrophobic conditions because I made it, though. I absolutely treated myself. I'm not going to tell you what I treated myself to because not on the radio. But I treated myself yesterday when I got home.
I know. It's something. I like that big one because, that only covers part of your body. We don't touch in it, but that tube,
Oh, I thought. You know what it reminded me of, Al, is like on CSI, that television show CSI.
Yeah.
When they put the bodies in those wall shelves. And I thought that's what I was thinking about when they wheeled me in and it started to go, and it's pushing me back in there.
I told you when I seen you in your room, I said, what are they checking your head for? There's nothing there to look for.
Thanks, caller. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're open at 7:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. And, boy, I'm telling you, it's going to get cold the next couple. It is cold out there. Doggone it. It's only 13 or 14 degrees. So you got out of bed this morning and let your twinkle toes hit the floor and you go, whoa, it's cold in here. And you went out and touched the thermostat, and there again, your per furnace downstairs is going, well, come on, give me a new air filter. I can respond better. Well, they've got all the good quality air filters for your furnaces. They're not the cheap ones. They got the good ones at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This really, really bothers me. And I'm going to change the pace here because we need to get serious about this. And we will right after this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Since I've gotten older, I'm getting afraid of heights. I don't like to get on more than one ring of a ladder, or one rung. And I guess everybody gets that rather than claustrophobia, or like claustrophobia.
Yeah, I'm like you. In the last couple of years, if I get up off the ground very high, like dumb me, I'll leave my crutches on the ground and climb up on the haystack and knock hay off, and everything. And I have a penchant for sometimes falling with the hay, which is not good for your body. But I get up there about 4 or 5 bales high, and I'm going, this isn't a good idea.
Yeah, been there, done that, and I understand. But anyway, I can't even put up Christmas lights anymore, and that's bad.
Yeah, but Goober, I don't think she's scared of anything. She can get in on ladders and go up to the top, and she stands there on these ladders, these extendable ladders, and puts Christmas ornaments up. And hey, wait a minute, what's the matter with you, woman? That's high. And, it doesn't bother me a bit. It doesn't bother her at all.
Yeah, my lovely bride does the same thing. There's nothing she can't do. But it's scary for me.
Well, I know that yesterday when she heard that I was going to go into one of those bullet tube MRIs, she notified the hospital insurance company that there might be severe damage done to equipment.
Yeah. I understand that.
All right, Carl. God bless you.
Have a great one.
Merry Christmas, my friend.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas wishes. Hey, don't forget, we're going to have our lunch bunch tomorrow at Perkins in Burley. You better believe it. Perkins Restaurant. 11:30 tomorrow, lunch bunch. It's going to be the combination Thanksgiving and Christmas. Everybody's going to get a Christmas present. We got great gift certificates to give away. Oh, the food at Perkins is fantabulous. And you're going to love it. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The food's always great. And the pies. Oh, everything delicious at Perkins Restaurant. Lunch bunch tomorrow at 11:30. Don't forget Travelube Supply. But hold on just a minute. I forgot to make a mark on my paper here. Yeah, X marks the spot. Travelube Supply, 1050 West, 203 south of Hayburn. And they say get ready for the cold weather. You know what? I got to get a hold of Jim McCall and get some pipe insulation tape and some pipe wrap insulation kits and some electric water pipe heating cables. Got to get it all. I got a Bubba rope. As a matter of fact, I got 2 Bubba ropes, I think. And they've got the pink Bubba ropes over there at Travelube Supply in commemoration for breast cancer awareness. Travelube Supply, 1050 West, 203 south of Hayburn. Number to call, 438-8730. Hey, look what time it is. It is time for the Capital Press Ag Minute, brought to us by some really nice people that know all about recycling, and they know all about helping people, too. They're still having that canned food drive for the month of December. And you can receive 10 cents more per pound or $20 more per ton for iron and tin at Pacific Steel and Recycling. Stop in there and help them out, would you please? At 320 West Main in Burley and 1987 Highland Avenue East in Twin Falls. Here is the Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Potato industry officials anticipate much greater interest in winter testing for seed for bacterial ring rot based on another flare-up of the disease in 2013. Idaho Crop Improvement Association began offering highly accurate testing for ring rot this spring after the disease resurfaced in the 2012 crop following a long absence. Ring rot can be spread by seed and equipment such as seed cutters and truck beds. Symptoms aren't always visible but may include wilted foliage, tuber cracking, bacterial ooze, and destruction of the vascular ring. A single positive plant in a field is cause for rejection of a seed lot. In Idaho, detection can prevent growers from recertifying seed from any other lots, forcing them to start with new seed after cleaning the equipment and buildings.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Really great folks at Capital Press, and of course the Ag Minute brought to you by Pacific Steel and Recycling. Yes, sir, for all your recycling needs, don't forget to go over there to Pacific Steel and Recycling and help them with that canned food drive, too. Nice people. Adam, the rest of the crew, in Twin Falls at 1987 Highland Avenue East and in Burley, 320 West Main, Pacific Steel and Recycling. I want to get really serious here for a moment, and I mean that. Very disturbing news coming out of Iran, and I'm going to show a lot of emotion on this because it really, really bothers me. As a matter of fact, I'm so mad when I think about this that I have nothing of respect or good things to say about our administration and our State Department. Very disturbing news from Iran that Pastor Abedini, and we have had his lovely wife on our program. We were one of the very, very, very few people in the United States that she granted an interview to. We had her on the air a couple of months ago, and her along with her children, very, very distraught, trying to get her husband released from the Iranian government. He's being held in one of the worst prisons anywhere in the world. It's filthy. Absolutely vermin-filled. It is absolutely the most dangerous prison with just killers. That's all that are in this one particular prison. His health, unfortunately, is very deteriorating, more so than it has been over the last couple of months. His health is deteriorating, and so are his spirits. And when I say this about a man, think about it. His only crime, and underline the word crime, his only crime was that he was trying to build an orphanage for children that had their parents either deceased or left, these poor, destitute little children. And initially he had complete, yes, permission from the Iranian government. And then all of a sudden, the Iranian government, these evil, evil people, threw him in prison and have sentenced him to at least 8 years. He will not live through the term of his incarceration. No, he won't. He has some very severe medical problems, and his health is deteriorating, and we have word that it's not good. And I'm sitting here, and after having so many people get involved with trying to free Pastor Abedini, and just basically on the humanitarian level beg the Iranian government to have some compassion, and I'm beyond that begging. I'm beyond the compassion stage. I think it is so pathetic, and if you're offended by this statement, you just go right ahead and be offended. I think it is so pathetic that us, the United States of America, is being held by the throat by a bunch of goat-herding, evil country people like Iran, with evil leadership, promoting evil in the world, with only death and destruction their main goal towards Israel and having nuclear superiority in the region, death and destruction by evil people, and we're being held by the throat by them. Now, what happened to this agreement? Later on this morning at 10:30, we're going to have George Mason law professor Jeremy Rabkin on the program. And he is probably one of the most knowledgeable people in the United States on this Iranian treaty. He's been featured on many, many great newscasts across the country, and I am so honored and blessed that this program gets the best people. That's one of the questions I'm going to ask him is, why did John Kerry and Barack Obama overlook in their silly, almost cartoonish negotiations with Iran in demanding that Pastor Abedini be released? As a matter of fact, I wish somebody could prove me wrong. I don't think his name ever came up in the conversations as a demand before the sanctions were going to be lessened by this country to Iran. I think we just gave them everything they wanted. We capitulated to this evil. And if I were president for one day, I would make sure that those sanctions were slapped on 10 times harder than what they were. Bring these evil people down to their knees. Yes, innocents will suffer. But America has got to stand by their people, the citizens of the United States of America. And it's total disrespect, I think, for this, what we call a president, Obama, and what we think we have as a Secretary of State, John Kerry. They are not doing a thing to demand the release of this American citizen. I pray, and I hope you do too, for this man, Pastor Abedini, and his health, his strength, and his release. Because I absolutely abhor the way our country is handling this situation. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Somebody said to me the other day, respect for the presidency. How in a situation such as this, with Pastor Abedini, how in a situation that is absolutely hurting millions of people now in this country with Obamacare, or the lack of, how? You have to earn respect. It is not going to be given freely from me, just because of a title, a location, and a person. I have no respect for this administration. Merry Christmas wishes from Dot Foods in Burley, the nation's largest food redistributor at 1541 West 27th Street in Burley. Oh, they've got job opportunities. You better call them. They've got job opportunities for next summer for college students, and they've got job opportunities for part-time warehousemen, and you better check it out. All you have to do is call them, 678-6063, Dot Foods in Burley. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas, as are the folks at Dixon Oil. All your gas, heating oil, diesel, motor oil, antifreeze, accessories, lubes, everything Daryl and the crew at Dixon Oil, 602 South 2nd Street in Rupert, with a Merry Christmas to you. And some really, really nice folks at Barclay Mechanical Crane Service, raising the standard for personalized and professional lifting services at 490 West and 100 South of Paul. I know a lot of those folks over there. They're great. And they all wish you a very Merry Christmas. Calls are welcome and appreciated. Please give me a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this with the last of that little grouping. Also, I want to say thanks to Nicole. That was my first thing I was going to mention. Nicole and the crew at Mad River Laser, boy, it doesn't get any better than what they do. They made up some Merry Christmas buttons for me. It's okay to say Merry Christmas to me. And Nicole, I want you to hear this morning. You did a phenomenal job, as always. They made up all my Zebeth the Ranch steak knives and everything. They are fantabulous. It's 700 South Oneida Street in Rupert, 436-2293, Mad River Laser. Wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. All right, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You want to hear a story that I just absolutely can't believe? I don't believe it's true. I do not believe that Obama has not talked to, had any association with, or visited with, or anything else, his Uncle Omar. Now, let me tell you a little background on Uncle Omar. Uncle Omar likes to drink. Uncle Omar gets picked up for DUIs. Uncle Omar has been allowed to stay in this country after he's been ordered to leave in 1986, 1989, and again in 1992. But he disregarded the deportation orders to go back to Kenya. Kenya. Where have I heard Kenya before involved with Obama? Oh! Supposedly that's his home country, but no, we've been told not to say that. Now, during the testimony, when he goes in on the deportation orders and the DWI and everything else, the Boston Globe reports that President Obama's name was invoked several times. The White House, of course, I love this verbiage, listen carefully. The White House, of course, claimed not to be aware that Uncle Omar was living illegally in the country. Do you buy that? But Uncle Omar asserted that his famous nephew stayed with him in Cambridge, Massachusetts for a few weeks before attending Harvard Law School in the late 1980s. Oh, well, Uncle Omar claims that Barack stayed with him, and Barack and Michelle claim that, gee, we haven't ever seen Uncle Omar since he come over here from Kenya. We don't know about his escapades. We don't know about deportation hearings that have asked him to leave this country, 1986, 89, and 92. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all a bunch of cowpucky. I cleaned it up quite a bit, I thought. I don't believe a minute of this, a second of this, a word of this. And to say that, well, we haven't had any conversation or anything with Uncle Omar, his real name is Uncle Onyango Obama, but he goes by Uncle Omar. This is ridiculous. And when he was picked up, according to the Boston police for drunken driving, he said, I think I'll call the White House in order to get out of the rap. Well, I've got news for Uncle Omar and Barack. Hey, Uncle Omar, get out of this country and take your nephew with you. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
You think that'd go like a lead balloon? Sure would.
Al, come on. Now, do you buy into this story that Barack and Uncle Omar, just living virtually a short distance apart, have never had any conversations or never had any communication? Come on.
I know. What I called in, I got to you about that Iranian deal.
Yeah.
You know, not one thing was mentioned. You had to keep watching. But they turned loose a nuclear scientist that makes bombs to kill people.
Yeah.
One person.
Yep.
Yet we're not allowed to even talk about our three people.
I know it. I just think that we have lost our teeth. We are nothing more than an old coon dog that's gumming it. Lost its teeth. Can't do anything. And people around the world know that we are all talk and no action.
I know it. I mean, and they had a chance to keep Kerry off of that Secretary of State, but they're too damn gutless to do anything that's for the American people.
Why are we appeasing these people?
Because they're just the way we are. We got these damn people that think they know everything. They've been in that office too long. Just because it says senator, they're supposed to pow down and kiss their knuckles? No way in hell, fella.
Let me ask you a question. How would you, and think about this, I know your attitude and I know your personality, but how would you feel if it were your grandson or your nephew?
I'd be raising holy hell with our senator because I'd like to know how they really feel about it.
Well, I know you've heard me on this program directly ask both Senators Crapo and Risch directly about this situation and demand that they do and say something. And we have proof that they have taken it and asked questions and demanded the release. But, you know, there's two senators from a very small populous state of Idaho, and they're not getting the audience that they deserve.
Well, that just goes to show you, if you've got a media like NBC, CBS, MSNBC, and all that crap, I mean, Zeb, you've got to have truth in this old world to get along. When a person sits there and sits at the typewriter and starts writing these little phony stories about, oh, we're doing great here, we're doing great there, it's a crock of baloney, and people wake up to the fact. And Mr. Boehner, you have the power to cause impeachment. For hell's sakes, how much more proof do you need to get it done?
Yeah, there was
Start the ball rolling now.
There was quite a few stories last night with quite a few interesting individuals that I happened to listen to and ascertain what they meant by their remarks. And wow, there's a lot of talk about putting the great big I word on Obama, and that means impeachment.
Two of them are Democrats.
Yes, that's true.
Have a good one.
God bless. Have a good day.
Merry Christmas.
You know, come on, folks. Really, what do you think about this mess with a Boise, Idaho citizen of America, Pastor Abedini, and it doesn't seem like anybody's really doing anything, forcing negotiations, forcing the Iranian government to, oh, you know, wait a minute, here, President, I want you to sit down and I want you to listen to us. Now, we are going to relax possibly the sanctions, but you are going to do this. You are going to release all your captives that are American citizens, not 10 minutes from now, but you get on the phone right now. Here's the receiver. Dial the number and get them released now. Or we're going to tighten the screws so bad that your country is going to absolutely wish that they were not even on the face of the earth. Now, that's our negotiations. You don't like it? That's tough. But no, we give them everything. We capitulated. We were nothing more than a doormat for them to wipe off their sandaled feet. It's pathetic. Time for a weather update. The weather update for this hour is brought to you by Quality's Electronics. I just like to go in there and stand. Just go in there and stand. I'm surrounded by beautiful TVs. 65-inch, 80-inch, 55, 50. I mean, holy smokes, they're all over the place. Beautiful television sets. And they've got sale prices going on. I'll tell you what, you better get in there and shop for Christmas for your family. I'll tell you an instance. Here, you can get a 32-inch TV for just $179. I'm telling you, you can go in and check out the great big Toshiba 65 Internet TV. Save $400 right now. Go on in there. Get in there to Quality's Electronics. They know about how you want to be entertained at home. Oh, they can help you. Stop in at 1730 Kimberly Road, Twin Falls. Quality's Electronics. Tell them Zeb sent you. They'll treat you right. They did me. Quality's Electronics. Here's Michael Rogers with the weather.
Everybody, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. As advertised, we've got the cold weather. It's going to be with us, and we're going to struggle today just to even just stay warm. Now, for the purposes of the snow on the ground, I don't really need to tell you to take it easy, slow down, because basically this is the first snow. But you got some pretty simple on the ground. The roads are slick. It's just going to be a mess out there today. So please, whatever you do, be careful. Look for high today 25, high tomorrow 21, high Friday with snow in the forecast of 27. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Quality's Electronics this half hour, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Zeb. Isn't it curious that the two biggest things going on there, the only POW in this war is from Idaho, and this pastor from Boise, and we can't get nothing done.
You know, that's really a good point. Bo Bergdahl being held captive, and my thoughts and prayers go out to his family, especially during this holiday season of Christmas, because, there's so many reflections and thoughts about family, and then they know that their son is somewhere captive by the bad guys, and then Pastor Abedini. And, Jim, your point, and I don't mean to elaborate on your point without your permission, but I think what you're trying to say is that had they been from a state of California or the state of New York or whatever, a bigger state with more demands, maybe they'd get better representation.
Well, we are paying for being a red state. There's no doubt in my mind.
I agree. Well, no, honestly, I'm going to put the ball in your court for a minute. These negotiations, if you want to say that laughingly, like a Three Stooges movie, what would you have done, first and foremost, if you were going to sit down at the table like John Kerry did, and what would you have demanded? Do you agree with what I said earlier?
Oh, absolutely. There wouldn't have been enough left of that country to put in the bucket, but I'm probably wrong about that, but why do we put up with this?
I don't know.
In the first place,
I don't know why we're okay, let's change the question there, Jim. Why are we putting up with people suffering every day now with their insurance being canceled and family members? I know people that are absolutely losing their insurance and they need the insurance for their chemo, for their cancer, for their kidney dialysis. I know people that are suffering, and you know what? Many of these people thought that they went to the website and they tried to sign up for insurance, but here's the kicker. They don't have a policy now. They probably won't have a policy by January 1st because the stupid Obamacare website does not take any payments yet.
Yep. And we were talking at church as of first of the year, the elderly will be losing about $100 on their Social Security income. So.
Absolutely. And you know what? I am one of those, and I'm damning and condemning this administration for hurting people in this country, and especially our seniors. This is absolutely deplorable.
Yep.
Jim, to you and yours, Merry Christmas. And while you're on the phone real quick, caller number 2, don't go away. I want to say thank you to Jim McCall and Travel Loop Supply, along with some great folks like Ramsey Heating and Electric and Let's Ride, sponsoring our December 19th Cowboy Ranch Corral. We're going to be singing all over Christmas carols. Meet at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 5:30. Jim, God bless you. Thanks for all your help. He's gone. Okay, Jim, thanks. Caller number 2, you're on the air.
Yes, Kerry had to put a feather in his cap if he had owned the pastor when he left over there and
yes.
brought him home with him.
Yes,
you
absolutely.
know, I can't understand this administration making a deal like they did and not including the release of that pastor.
You know, Fred, you've been around a long time, and I don't think there's anybody that knows politics any better than you because you study it day by day. Now, here's the thing that I've heard from some of these loony liberals. Some of these loony liberals have said, oh, now, wait a minute, I know that there's an American citizen being held captive, but we have to think about what these sanctions are doing to the Iranian people. We have to think about all the negatives that are happening. We've got to be more humanitarian. And you know what my response is? No. I don't care one drop of water about Iran and its citizens until we get our American citizen that was doing nothing but good released.
That's a ditto to that. Boy, I'll tell you, I don't either. The Iranian citizens, they're going to keep working on their nuclear. They aren't going to quit that.
That's absolutely.
They're not. I don't know what the hell he was doing over there. If he had went over there to get a release of that pastor, why then he'd been doing something for this country.
Absolutely. Fred, to you and your wife, God's blessings. Merry Christmas, my dear friend. I'll give you one of the Zeb's bells. There you go. Merry Christmas, Fred.
Merry Christmas to you and Deanne.
All right. God bless you, man.
You're a great friend.
I know that. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay. See you tomorrow, I think.
God bless you. We'll look forward to it. I hope you make it. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.
I tell you what, that's a good man right there. You know, really, why should we care a whit, a little piece of bark off a tree? Why should we care at all about the humanity? Oh, well, we can't force the sanctions anymore. Look what it's doing to the Iranian people. Oh, those poor folks. No, wait a minute. We've got an American citizen, actually more than one, over there being held captive, that have done nothing wrong, especially Pastor Abedini, and I don't care about anybody else but our own first. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes,
How
sir.
are you today?
Good. Talk to me, Jerry. Go.
Okay, you know what upsets me about dealing with these countries is we're trillions of dollars in debt, and we're giving these guys billions of dollars. We don't have it to give. It's stupid we're doing it, and we're helping our enemies, people that don't care for us, don't like us, don't want to deal with us. And we know when they deal with us, they're lying to us. They
Absolutely.
never tell us the truth.
Absolutely.
They never keep their word. It's just ridiculous we're even talking to them.
You know, I think the American...
And as far as Abedini goes, we ought to just go in and take him out.
Well, I'm so afraid that if there was a show of force, the Iranians might stoop to their past always lows of doing something horrendous to Pastor Abedini as far as his life is concerned. I've had it. I have no respect for this president. You will not get me to say I have respect for this president. I have none for John Kerry. I think he's been a traitor since Vietnam. I absolutely abhor this appeasement deal that we struck with Iran. I see nothing that's good for the United States.
Well, and I agree 100%. You know, it's just absolutely ludicrous across the board.
Amen.
I'll get off, let somebody else on. You have a wonderful day. May the Lord bless.
Merry Christmas to you, and we'll see you Monday night over at Doc's Pizza for the Citizen Award. I tell you what, that is great, Jerry. Thank you very much.
You bet. Have
God
a
bless.
wonderful night.
Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, the milk of human kindness, the cow that gives the milk of human kindness is dried up as far as I'm concerned. No more. No more. It is time, past time, to think of us, the United States of America, to think of our citizens, to think of our economy, to think of our children, to think of our education, to think of our security, to think of what's best for us right now. This country is falling apart because of that absolutely diabolical leadership that doesn't care. Caller, I'll be with you in a minute. Let me pay some bills. Hold on. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best in tires, the best in brake service, the best in batteries. Oh, my goodness. You better get in there and have your battery checked, because with this cold weather right now, you go out and turn the key and you go click, click. Well, I told you. You go on in and they've got the best in batteries to serve you. You better believe it. At your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, Twist Family and Paul, John on Pole Line and Twin Falls, and Randy the Seahawk fan, rightfully so, they're playing great, on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. I spent some time in Iran years ago, 30-some. It's probably changed a lot like we have, but the sanctions were not hurting the average Iranian. The average Iranian's out here working his tail off trying to put food on the table.
I agree with that.
Maybe 10-12% of the top would be affected as far as what I saw when I was there. A maximum of 15% of the people would even realize there was a sanction against the country.
Let me ask you quickly what I just said a moment ago, and see if you agree or disagree. If you disagree, you have your certain right of opinion. I honestly think that we need to start bringing countries down to their knees in fear and respect of this country so that we don't have any more Pastor Abedini situations. Do you agree or not?
Well, that's how we got where we are, where we were. We're not there anymore. That's how we got there, was by walking, speaking softly, and carrying a big stick.
Amen. Amen. And
if you've got no respect for them, why? If they have no respect for us, why then they're going to do whatever they want to do. And I have no idea what the deal with Abedini was. I've heard all the stories and whatever, but it's just sad that someone trying to do something good, winds up in this kind of a situation.
Absolutely, sir. To you and your family.
It's also sad that our top-notch people. Well, they're supposed to be top-notch. The top people over here, we won't call them top-notch, I guess. They should have, like you said, they should have walked in and sat down at the table and said, "Okay, gentlemen, we'll start talking about what we're going to do." About 2 minutes after Mr. Abedini comes in the door and can sit down here beside me and walk out the door.
Amen. God bless you, sir. I always appreciate your calls. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thank you for your call this morning.
Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you,
See
sir.
you later. Bye.
Got to run to the news, but I also want to remind you, Zeb at the Ranch teaming up along with the Rupert POWs and Rupert MIAs. We want to say thank you. We need your help in gathering canned food for the needy this Christmas. Now, the following businesses have boxes at their locations to drop off the canned food on behalf of Zeb at the Ranch and the Rupert POWs: Ramsey Heating and Electric, Les Schwab Tire Centers, and Rupert, Paul, and Burley. The City of Rupert offices, Valleywide Home and Ranch, Kings and Rupert, and Alaska's Best in Rupert. Thank you. Thank you for helping others here in the Magic Valley on behalf of Zeb at the Ranch and the Rupert POWs. Thank you very much. I'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, my goodness. Cold outside. Let me see how cold it is right here right now. Hold on. I got to look at my old thermometer. Are you kidding me? I've got 13 right now. It hasn't warmed up hardly at all. Whew. Glad I plugged the old pickup truck in last night. Hey, welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers that include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always the Georgia shores of Western Way Services. We care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at Georgia shores of Western Way Services.
Absolutely. It's time to call Western Way Services. Maybe check out a dumpster. Deanne's telling me I ought to get a dumpster and de-junk my office. Man, it'd take a whole bunch of dumpsters to de-junk this place. I'll tell you what, my office is unique. It's unique, all right. Hey, no matter what you need, dumpsters, or whether you need to get on the route service for your trash collection, whether you need porta potties, whatever you need, it's all there for you, always at your disposal. Our friends at Western Way Services, 734-6969. Please call them today. Also, I want to say thank you very much. Hopefully, Joel will be able to attend our lunch bunch tomorrow at Perkins. Well, I'll tell you what, Joel Heward, owner-manager of Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. What a nice man. What a nice man, and conscientious, very caring, as are all the people that work right there at Hanson Mortuary. They are committed to upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity in serving you and your family. When there's been the passing of a loved one, it's really a tough time, and they are there to help you. Please contact them today at 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Really nice people. Well, lo and behold, it is Wednesday, and from our cold, humble abode with snow on the ground and freezing temperatures outside, we go to sunny Colorado, where it's 81 degrees, and he's sitting out on his sun deck. Hello, Doug Johnson.
Hello, Zeb, and I'm going to tell you what I told Gina when she called a couple minutes ago. I was looking at the temperature, and it is right now 2 below with a 20 below wind chill here. I'm going to get colder tonight and tomorrow.
I'll tell you what.
Send us some of your warmth if you've got any, and be thankful for the global warming that keeps it so nice and warm for us.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much, Doug Johnson. I'm not ashamed to admit it. When I go to town today, I'm buying some more long johns. It's cold out there, and it's supposed to stay cold all through the rest of this week.
Yeah, the whole country's getting hammered, and it's going deep into the southern part of the continent. The jet stream has dropped down, and we're all getting hit hard. And I think a lot of people, the thing I'm telling friends, younger friends who haven't lived through this too much. I grew up in Minnesota, so this is. I don't like this weather, but I am used to it. It's not common here in Colorado. But I tell them when it gets this cold, don't forget to keep those cabinet doors open by your sinks, and at night have a trickle of water running so you don't end up with a frozen pipe. It's the worst thing you could have happen.
Absolutely. By the way, I never did ask you, what part of Minnesota did you grow up in?
Well, most of my life in the Twin Cities, although when I was young, I actually was born in Fargo, North Dakota, then we moved over into northern Minnesota, into a small town in northern Minnesota for a while. But when I was in elementary school, we moved on to Minneapolis, and I grew up and went to school there.
You were probably in school in Minneapolis when I lived in Minneapolis at 3305 East Lake Street. That was our fraternity house.
Oh, really? Isn't that a small world? That's funny. That's really funny. Yeah, probably. We probably were closer than we knew.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. If you're going to go back through the archives of history, if you look up Lake Street in Minneapolis back in the 60s, Soderbergh's Florist Shop. Our house was on top of, literally, Soderbergh's Florist Shop.
Oh, really?
On Lake Street.
I don't know if you spent much time down at the University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
But there's a little community down there right on campus of businesses and stuff called Dinkytown.
Yes.
And I started my first business in Dinkytown and rented a place to open a retail business there that put me through school that was located above a drugstore that I think is probably still there to this day. I haven't been there in a few years, called Gray's Drugstore. Been there for generations. And it was in the same place where Bob Dylan had an apartment, and he used to play in a club just down the street and stuff, and I went back a few years ago, and it was interesting kind of nostalgic to see the old place again, but it's funny how much you and I probably have in common in geographical areas.
I can tell you this real quick, and then I got to get to the situation we want to talk about this morning, that in Minneapolis, while I was going to school up there, after the University of Minnesota, then transferring to Brown Institute to get my communications degree, that airport, Wold Chamberlain International Airport right there in Minneapolis, was where I was in my first movie. I was in the movie Airport with Dean Martin and Van Heflin.
Oh, wow.
They filmed that there.
That really is.
Yeah.
And speaking of that airport, not on near as famous a level, but then I don't hold the fame you do, but when I was young, I worked security in that airport.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
That was one of the many jobs I held, in addition to owning my own business, working my way through school. I worked jobs and had a business and went to school all at the same time.
We could go on, but lest we shall, not now. But call me sometime. Well, I might have been right in your neighborhood causing problems when I was a college student.
Or vice versa.
Right. Listen, I got to ask you a question. You're an author. You've written great books like No Tomorrows, and you write a great blog called the Horse Sense Blog, and both of us enjoy writing. If you were to write a Hollywood script or screenplay about Obamacare and what kind of an absolute comedic mess it is, I don't think you could ever come up with the different scripts, the different plans, the different plots that this idiotic Obamacare is thrusting at us every single day.
Well, you can't. They say truth is stranger than fiction, and I think in the same way, what happens naturally in this world is usually funnier than anything you could think up. And sadly, Obamacare is a perfect example of, if it weren't so serious, it would be hysterical.
Yeah. I mean, now, let me ask you something, Doug. You're a shrewd businessman. You really know your dot the I's, cross the T's. Would you even consider, if you were marketing your own book, No Tomorrows, would you even consider telling everybody, hey, order the book, but then you didn't have any way of accepting payment?
No, I wouldn't. And but what's worse is they not only have that, they don't even have the book done. This thing is such a nightmare. But every day we learn more stuff. I did not see it. I read a report this morning that I guess Megyn Kelly went ballistic the other day on this because they have no way to set up payments with the insurers.
That's right.
For handling Obamacare. So the government has told them, just go ahead and estimate your payments and we'll pay you, and then we'll work out the details later.
This is not a joke. This is absolutely the truth. I've done some detective work on that story since that came out as a news bulletin on Megyn Kelly's show. And quite frankly, you and I, don't you feel honored that they're going to come back to you and I, the taxpayers, and basically tell us, well, we're going to give these insurance companies a carte blanche bulk check because we trust them.
Yeah, and what gets me is that, and I have no love lost for the insurance industry, but I would trust them more than I would this government. But what gets me is they have had plenty of time to figure this out. You and I have talked about this before, and to think they can't even get the payment mechanism right. And as I told a host on a show in California yesterday, we were talking about it, I said what is really scary is the payment mechanisms, the website, all this is nothing compared to how bad it's going to be once this thing is fully implemented and we feel the effects on our actual health, what it actually does for our health and getting health care. Because they keep referring to getting health care, and we both know that they're not providing health care. They're providing health care coverage, and just because you have coverage does not mean you're going to get care. And there's a big difference, and people haven't figured that part out yet.
Yeah, but see, right there, you've tied it all together like a spider web. A lot of people, Doug, and you know this is true, a lot of people that have, quote-unquote, managed to get on Obamacare's website, they think that they've got coverage coming up on January 1st so they can go to the doctor, they can take care of their chemo treatments, they can take little Johnny and make sure that he's healthy. They don't have coverage because they haven't paid for it yet. They are absolutely being duped into thinking they have some coverage. They don't have a security blanket at all.
No, they don't. And you and I have talked about it before. I do not believe that the disaster Obamacare is right now was part of the plan. But I do think they will use it to push towards a single-payer system, because ultimately they're going to stand up and say,
I agree.
See, it's such a mess. The only way we can fix this is for the government to take the whole thing over and create a single-payer system. I really believe that's where they're going to go with this. And because they're, as we've said before, they're going to listen to Rahm Emanuel's advice. Don't let a good crisis go to waste, and they're going to use this to push things their way. And I really think that's what's going to happen. And I think this is where those of us like you and I, Zeb, who have a bit of a platform, whether it be a radio show or writing or whatever, we have an obligation to be telling Americans not just to be upset about this, but we need to be coming up with solutions saying to them, this is what you must do if we're going to stop this.
Doug, I'm going to ask your indulgence for 60 seconds. I got to pay some bills, and then I'm going to come back and ask you about Uncle Omar. Don't go away. I know you can't wait to respond. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. These people are professionals. These people know they can help you with your security for your home and your business. Please contact Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens today. Dedicated, very responsive to your needs. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, 436-4424, located at Highway 24 in Rupert. Remember, Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Oh, don't forget next Thursday, we're going to be at Valleywide Home and Ranch for the Cowboy Christmas Remote. It's next Thursday, December 12th from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Register for free men's and women's clothing and free cinnamon rolls the first hour. Yep, old Steve and I are springing for the cinnamon rolls, and it's going to be ripping fun with Ken Mort supplying the music. Oh, Christmas carols, don't miss it. It's huge. Valley-wide Home and Ranch Cowboy Christmas Remote next Thursday, December 12th from 8 to 11 a.m. Okay, Doug, you're probably saying
you're talking cinnamon rolls here. You got my attention.
I figured that. Now, I want to. Do you know who Uncle Omar is?
Yeah, I sure do.
Oh, my. Uncle Omar has been asked by U.S. immigration sources to leave the country on numerous occasions because he's not exactly a nice guy and he didn't renew all of his papers. He was asked to leave in 1986, 1989, and 1992, but then here just recently, doggone it, Omar fell off the wagon and got drunk and got picked up for DWI, and he happens to be Obama's uncle. This is a strange turn of events because when he was picked up, he says, I think I'll call the White House. Now, the White House says they haven't had any correspondence or any communication with Uncle Omar at all. Do you believe this garbage?
Well, what I love is the White House denies that the president's ever even met him, and yet Uncle Omar claims that Barack lived with him while he attended Harvard Law School.
There you go.
And, well, of course, the left will always defend the president. What's really fascinating is that Omar's landlord actually has come out now and said that he's confirming that Barack lived with Omar when he was in law school. So, once again, I think we have another great example of lies, and more lies out of this administration. And I think the big story is, why would the president cover this up, too? I mean, everything about his past we see covered up. Why would he distance himself from it? So what? If he were to say, yeah, I live with the guy's got problems, I'm sorry to see it, but that's the way it is, but there's no truth that comes out of this man's mouth. That's what I took out of this story more than anything, Zeb, but setting aside the fact that his uncle should be deported, but obviously he's being given special privileges because of who he is. But I think the real story here is, once again, our president lies.
Well, you know, it goes deeper than that for me, because a lot of people criticize me because I'm a birther as far as where he was born. I honestly do not believe that President Obama is qualified to be president. I honestly believe here we have a half-brother living in a thatched hut over in Africa. Here we have Uncle Omar from Kenya that's been drunk and ordered out of the country on 4 different occasions, and the Obama family has a lot of holes in their screen door and the flies are coming in. I don't believe a word about anything with this man, his past, and where he got his money. I'm sorry, but you're not going to find a believer in Barack Obama with me.
Well, you know, you're right. His story is full of holes. It's been proven full of holes. I addressed it very briefly in No Tomorrows. And, you know, even if we set everything aside, even we set aside the legal, the law enforcement people who've investigated the birth certificate he provided, that was supposedly his birth certificate, and the law enforcement has shown it's a fraud. If we set all that aside, I have 2 questions. One is, why is every single thing about his past concealed and secured so nobody can look at it and find out who he is, what his background is? And number 2, I use the birth certificate as a perfect example. If it's true, then why does it claim, forgetting all the technical jargon that I don't understand because I'm not a computer guy, just look at that document. Anybody can go online and look at that document that he provided. And Zeb, it says father's race African.
Yep.
African is not a race. It never has been. There are many different races in Africa. And even if it were considered to be a race, the fact is, back in 1961, not only is that not a term that was used, African American, but what the term that was used was either colored or Negro, and that's not there. But whoever made up that document was so politically correct they couldn't bring themselves to use that term. That alone should tell people something's wrong, let alone all the other stuff we find about him.
Absolutely.
And so I have to say, I'm with you. I think the man is a fraud. I think he might have been born in this country. I don't think that's the issue. The question is, is he qualified constitutionally to be president? And the Supreme Court's never really ruled on what the definition of natural-born citizen is. But the bottom line is that his story doesn't jive. There is nothing that fits together there. It's absolutely a smokescreen.
Absolutely. Doug, I've only got a couple of minutes left in the segment because we've got our daily Christmas carol coming up right after your segment. And I got to ask you real quick. I personally am not in favor of drones being used to deliver packages for Amazon or anybody else. I think we're going to have an oversaturation of the airwaves. I think we're going to see some critical problems arrive with low-flying planes at various airports around the country if this is really taken out into an advertising gimmick to deliver goods faster. What are your thoughts about drones in our society?
Well, I think from a safety standpoint, it's terrible. I'm talking about just physical safety. You know, back when the automobile was first created, there were only 2 cars in the entire state of Ohio, and they crashed into each other. So I can imagine we put up thousands of drones across the country. I personally think the U.S. airspace, we should not allow drones to fly anywhere for any reason. That's my personal view. And that's setting aside all the other issues of violating our privacy and everything else. I think it's terrible, but I think it's one more sign of the infiltration of the government into our lives.
Let me give you a heads up, because I know that you're a very respectful of other authors' books. Have you ever heard of the book by Mike Maden, M-A-D-E-N, called Drones? If not, I suggest you run to your bookstore and buy it.
I have not, but I will look into it.
I'm going to tell you something, Doug. It's going to open your eyes as to really how critical the drone situation can be and very possibly will be, invading all sources of our security here in this country and, for that matter, the world. And that's why when I saw this deal on television the other night about a drone using package delivery of up to, 5 pounds or something on your front porch, and there's a cartoon in this morning's paper about Santa Claus standing next to his reindeer that are for sale because he can't deliver packages anymore because there's too many drones in the sky. I know humorous in a cartoon, but there's a lot of seriousness involved in that.
There is huge seriousness involved, and I think it really is bad, and I can't imagine actually our government allowing this kind of thing. I would think they want to reserve the skies for their own drones, but then again, the owner of Amazon does happen to be a big leftist supporter, so maybe that's how he gets approval to do this. I don't know. I think it's a disaster any way you look at it.
Real quick, Doug, Obamacare, total wreck. I want to get back to that real fast. Last thoughts this morning on the program. I personally, as much as I've studied it, and I've talked to many, many people that are involved in the investigatory type services back on the East Coast, many with Fox News, some with ABC, they don't see this getting any better, and honestly, about 6 out of the 10 people I interviewed said that probably right after the first of the year, the president is going to have to reconcile and maybe start over from scratch. Do you think he will?
No, he's too proud. His ego's too big. He's already said he won't repeal Obamacare. I think he will. He doesn't care what happens to you and I. He doesn't care what happens to American citizens. All he wants is the power that Obamacare gives him, controlling 1/6 of the economy, controlling our health care. When I control your health care, I control you, because I tell you not just that you can or can't receive treatment or can't live, but I tell you your child and grandchild can't and your spouse can't. And I'm going to tell you something, Zeb. Nothing hits, I think, to most Americans, nothing hits closer to home than hitting their family. I am far more protective of my family than I am of myself. And I think that is where this government's headed.
I totally agree. Doug, seriously, we need to get together. Someday, somehow, you need to or I need to. We need to meet in the middle or meet there, meet here, whatever. We've got to sit down and have a good old steak and kind of go over past memories on Minneapolis and everything else. But God's blessings to you and your family for a very Merry Christmas. And thanks for being on the program. I really enjoy having you here.
Thanks, Zeb. This is a highlight of my week. I always enjoy it. I hope your listeners enjoy us talking back and forth, but I sure enjoy it too. So you guys stay warm up there, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. The author of the blog, the Horse Sense blog, and the book No Tomorrows, Doug Johnson. Really a nice man. We are going to have our daily Christmas carol in just a moment, so stand by. Real fast, I want to remind you about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Oh, my goodness, they've got chairs. They've got recliners. They've got bedroom sets. They've got area rugs. They've got bar stools. They've got all the bunk beds. They've got everything for your comfort and beautification of your home. Yes, and they've got the experts that work there. They can say, well, this looks really good here, or how about trying this? They are the best. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Say it again, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Hey, you know what? During Christmas season, we are going to have a daily Christmas carol on this program, and it's time for that right now. Thanks to my dear friends. I've known these folks for over 40 years. Pickett Equipment Company at 976 East Main Street in Burley. Steve, really good old boy. What a fisherman he is, too. Steve and the whole crew wishes everybody a Merry Christmas and a great big Happy New Year. And don't forget, innovation is the word at Pickett Equipment Company from its birth in the mid-1970s. From the Twin Master Edible Bean Combine, the Double Master Plus Side Pull Combine, they've got it all. They can do it all. Give Steve and the crew a call at Pickett Equipment Company, 678-0855. They wish you a Merry Christmas with today's Christmas Carol.
Happy holidays to you.
I love that song. I love the feeling and the spirit. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you so much. Gina's on the ball all the time over there. Brought to you this hour by Pickett Equipment Company at 976 East Main in Burley. Really good folks wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Excuse me for choking into the microphone. I was about ready to die there for a minute. It's time now for In the Driver's Seat, presented by Skow's CarQuest Centers in Rupert, Burley, and Heyburn, and co-hosted by the man that knows everything, the answer man, Jeff Poole. And don't forget, for all your automotive needs, every detail matters at Skow's in Rupert, Burley, and Heyburn. Good morning, Mr. Answer Man. How are you?
I'm good, Zeb. How are you doing today?
I'm cold.
Yeah, it's going around, isn't it?
Well, I don't mean I've got a cold. I mean I'm doggone cold. It's chilly outside.
Yes, it's very cold. It's changed real quick, hasn't it?
Well, I tell you what, you've got everything over at all three locations of Skow's CarQuest Centers to make sure that no matter how cold it is, people can get going and move in this cold weather. I got to ask you, what about antifreeze? I'm going to ask you about this first before I ask you some questions this morning. A lot of people, and I guess I'm guilty of this, they just go get some antifreeze and just dump some in the radiator. What really are we doing wrong, and how do we need to do this?
Well, the advances of the motors and stuff have definitely called for different antifreezes. There's, like I say, the good old-fashioned, what everybody knows is green antifreeze. It doesn't really work so well in all these new vehicles. Dumping that in your vehicle is, you can cross-contaminate there and cause some issues. It'll crystallize. There's your Dexcool, which is orange. There's Chrysler runs a gold. Ford runs a gold. Volkswagen, Audi, they take their own stuff, purple, red. I mean, there's so many antifreezes now that you definitely want to refer to us here at Skow's or your owner's manual to make sure you're putting the right stuff in your vehicle.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. Answerman, oh, by the way, I understand that we're going to be maybe giving something away today. You want to tell everybody before I ask you some more questions?
Well, we are. If this whole week, if you go to one of our CarQuest locations, either Burley or Rupert, and you mentioned that you heard this, this segment, then we're going to give you a free gift. So come in and mention that you heard it here and on the Zeb Bell Show, and we'd be more than happy to hook you up with a little early Christmas gift.
All they have to do is go to any one of the three locations of Skow's CarQuest Centers, and you'll give them a free gift just by walking in the door and yelling, saying, "I listened to Zeb Bell. Where's my gift?" Right?
There you go.
All right, everybody. Now, you heard that. I'm going to keep telling everybody. Here is a question, and you know what? This question makes a lot of sense. When I got this, I kind of looked at it, and I thought, what? This is from a gentleman in the Burley area, and he says, quote, "Why can't they print positive or negative on jumper cables because I'm colorblind?"
That's a good one. Yeah, I have seen some jumper cables that do have a negative and positive, symbol on them. That's a great question. I don't think the manufacturers really think about, that handicap, if you will. That's a great question. I don't have a good answer for that, but I have seen some that do have it.
All right, I'll tell you what we'll do. if they'll stop over to Scows and get their jumper cables. I heard Jeff just say under his breath that he will personally print positive and negative on the handles.
If that's what it takes, whatever it takes to get the customer happy.
Hey, here's a question, and I've often worried about this, okay? Because I travel so much, and a lot of times on my travels, I pull into places I'm not aware of or know of or anything for maybe an oil change while I'm on the road. A gentleman in Twin Falls called, and he said he went in for an oil change on a diesel pickup, and the business that put the oil in put the wrong oil in his diesel pickup, and he's wondering how much damage was done.
Well, there's a lot of variables there. What oil was put in it?
That I don't know. He just sent me a little note and asked about that, so you got me at your mercy on that one.
Well, basically, again, it's really important, just like antifreeze. If you're unsure, if we're unsure as far as when we're servicing a vehicle, we go to the manuals, or we go to the the OE handbook, if you will, and just make sure what that vehicle takes, because it is critical. These these new vehicles are really very, very picky. We've had vehicles come in here before for, say, a trans flush, and we used what we thought was right for it, and it wouldn't move.
Really?
It's that picky anymore. And to answer the question of the caller, it would be what weight did they use, how long did they run it. Typically I would think that they've got to have some kind of a 40 weight, in there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, here's another question for you, and this one I really snickered at when I got this one in the mail. A gentleman says, my wife likes to shop. She likes to shop too much. I'm left in the car while she shops too much, and it's cold outside. How much fuel is consumed by waiting for my wife to shop?
That's a good one too. That's a hard one to answer. I would think that it shouldn't really be that consuming to have a car sitting idle. Fuel pressure is there, so it's they maintain X amount of fuel pressure, so it's not really requiring more per se. More fuel pressure. So whatever it takes. I mean, it's gonna sip fuel pretty much.
Okay. At the end of his note, he's got, please tell me an exact amount so she can pay me back.
You'll have to settle that one with her.
All right. Now, here's a question, and I've wondered this too, because I've had the trouble with my pickup, okay? This caller said, my leather bucket seats are all cracked and splitting. What do I do about replacement, or is there a substance that you can apply to leather bucket seats to limit the cracking in cold weather?
Well, there really is, and that's a great question. Your leather vehicles, they make and make sure you get a good one, a good, Meguiar's or something like that. They make a leather cleaner and a leather conditioner. So once you buff in your cleaning agent, if you will, and come back with your conditioner. That's really important, because that leather, it does dry. It requires oils in that leather to keep it nice and soft, so it doesn't crack. And that cracking and stuff can happen in the summer just as easy.
Okay.
So make sure it's staying nice and clean, and the key to that is using the conditioner.
Okay. Last question for this morning, and let's see, I had it here on the desk. Hold on just a second. Oh, it's about the headlights again. A couple of weeks ago we asked you about headlights, and this gentleman writes in and says, I'm 75 years old, and the new ultra-bright headlights really hurt my eyes driving in the dark in the evening. What's wrong with still having the old-style headlights?
Well, that's I don't know, that's a big question we get asked a lot, even in here. It's, unfortunately, as a driver with oncoming, and these guys have these lights, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But you as the driver, they're fantastic. Your ability to see is critical, due to safety and a lot of reasons. The headlight technology's come a long ways, and it shows when you see one of them guys coming at you, you can tell.
Yeah.
That's the big thing is, you get into a vehicle that has that type of headlights, and you get back into one that, say, has conventional headlights, and it looks like somebody's holding a flashlight out there in front of you.
Really? But you know what you just said a minute ago, though, and I know in my own personal response, wow, those things, they're hard to drive into. You know what I'm saying?
They really are. You know, they're bad, like I say, for the oncoming guy, but they're great for the driver. And you know, even a lot of those are in some of your older vehicles. They're factory upgrades. You know, they've come in and they've bought, if you will, some performance headlights.
Right.
A lot of your new vehicles, though, they're equipped with those. So that problem is really not going to go away.
All right. Now, in the time remaining this morning, I want you to kind of help me with the commercial a little bit for Scows. I would imagine that you guys are doing double duty over there for people that, we got a lot of snow here. You didn't hardly get any over there, I understand, but we've got about 5 or 6 inches right here at my place, and it's slippery. Wow. Tell us what the hot issues are right now at Scows, all 3 locations.
Well, definitely, right now, for sure, diesel fuel additives are really going well. Engine heaters, batteries. You know, we stock all the above at all 3 locations, and you know, we're having a pretty tough time keeping up with that stuff. So it's, you know, that's a time of the year per se, and you know, as this weather holds in here, I'm sure that it's you know, the demand is going to increase even more. So.
Well, over at Scows, I love your tagline, every detail matters, and you really mean that, don't you?
Well, we strive, you know, to take care of the customer and listen well to what they've got to tell us and try to get it right the first time. Like you say, you know, there's treacherous conditions people got to drive, and, you know, we want to make sure we hit the bullseye every time. That way they're not coming back.
All right. Now, I want to tell everybody that Jeff is over at Scows CarQuest in Rupert at 323 East 8th Street, Highway 25 in Rupert. And then, of course, the CarQuest of Burley, 518 Overland in Burley, and Scows Big Truck Center, I-84, exit 211 in Hayburn. And tell them, Jeff, they get a free Christmas present. All they have to do, just tell them again.
Yep, just come in anytime this week and mention you heard this ad on Zeb's program, and we'll give you a free gift.
All right, to my dear friend Jeff Poole, your family, and all the folks over there at Scows, I want to wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for being in the driver's seat, presented by Scows CarQuest Centers, where every detail matters. Jeff Poole, thanks so much.
Thanks, Zeb. Have a great day.
God bless. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, how do you like that? You get a free gift at Scows. If you just go in and mention my name, they'll give you a free Christmas present. I don't know what it is. It's a surprise. You better go on in today. Every detail matters. Okay, let's see where we're headed here. I know one thing, calls are welcome and appreciated, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I would love to hear from you, okay? We'll talk about anything. One thing I want to remind you of is that thanks to Mad River Laser, we have It's Okay to Say Christmas to Me pins with Zeb at the Ranch on them. And I'm going to have this whole bag of pins over there at Lunch Bunch tomorrow at Perkins at 11:30, and they sell for $2. Now, the net proceeds of selling these Christmas pins, It's Okay to Say Merry Christmas to Me, is going to go back into our annual Christmas budget to help needy families. So every time you buy a little pin for $2, you're helping needy families during Christmas time. Compliments of Zeb at the Ranch. So thank you very much. And out there in Radioland, if you need to get some of these, let me know. I'll figure out a location where I can drop some off, and we'll get the exchange. They're really nice little pins. It's okay to say Merry Christmas to me, okay? Give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And while I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I'll tell you about Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, open Tuesdays through Saturdays, where the fun is sold. Plain and simple. That's where they sell fun. That's where they encourage everybody to come on in and see all the brand new 2014 snow machines, all the new ATVs, all the accessories. And if you need something that needs to be fixed or repaired, they've got the best doggone parts department around. Absolutely. They're open 9 to 6, Tuesdays through Saturdays. Go on in and talk to Nick and the gang. Oh, and speaking of Nick and the gang, I want to give them a big shout out. They're one of the sponsors of our Zeb at the Ranch Cowboy Christmas Corral that's going to go around on December 19th. Thank you very much, Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. Oh, Gina. You know what's going to go on today later on?
What?
I'm going to go to our first Christmas party.
You are already?
Yeah, they've got at the real estate company that I work for, Canyonside Irwin Realty, we're going to have a little Christmas dinner potluck.
Ooh, I love those. I love potlucks.
Now, I know some of the food that's going to be there. I know some of the people that have prepared it. I know some of the calories that are in it. And I also know I don't care.
And so Deanne is unrestricting you from your diet, and off you go.
She's taking some in with her, and my wife, with her zucchini bread and banana bread and her light butter biscuits. During the break at the last hour at 9 o'clock.
Rub it in.
She brought me in a biscuit that was just out of the oven with a light golden brown color on top. And I put a piece of cheese in the middle. There is nothing better than a hot biscuit with cheese.
A hot biscuit with butter and honey.
Oh, yes. I tell you what. Yep, it started, and we're going to have a big gathering at noon, and I'm looking forward to it. So
I'm jealous. And have a good time.
I will. I was going to say, what else do you know over there this morning that we need to share with all kinds of great... You know what? I got a subject for you this morning.
Okay.
And I got to get it over here. And I'm very concerned about this. I really am, and it's not a joke. I'm being real when I say this. There is a lawsuit, and we're going to talk more about this in the days ahead, but there is a lawsuit from the Non-Human Rights Project. Have you heard about this lawsuit? Well, this lawsuit from the Non-Human Rights Project the Non-Human Rights Project intends to file additional lawsuits against people that keep animals as pets or use animals, and they're starting with chimpanzees.
What?
Yeah, I'm not kidding. This is very worrisome to me, and I'll tell you why. Because over the many, many years that I've been in the rodeo business and have been on various boards fighting the humane nitwits with animal rights, we've seen this coming to where a lot of these people, a lot of these groups, it's a very subtle way to say, like they said in this case, that chimpanzees are actually like humans, and they should not be kept in cages or kept in sanctuaries, and they should be turned loose. And this Non-Human Rights Project, they're going to be filing lawsuits. They're starting in the state of New York, but they say that no one should ever live in a cage or in enclosure.
Okay, so my question to these people is, number one, if we turn them loose, where are you going to put them? Number two, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, these animals are very well cared for and are probably in the safest place that they could ever be so they can live a long and fruitful life.
But here's the danger, and I think you're already ahead of me on this, but the very dangerous lawsuit, and I'll tell you why. And it's not to be scoffed at by anybody. First of all, these animal rights outfits have a ton of money. A lot of money.
Yep.
And if they win this case, supposing then that a case comes up in Illinois, a case maybe in Idaho or California, that all animals in stalls, in pastures, birds in bird cages, or pets on leashes are violating that law.
That makes no sense.
It doesn't.
Obviously, these people don't know or have never cared for an animal. And I just don't get it. You can't let a horse run free. You can't let a bird just fly free because, number one, it's not going to come home. Number two, it's probably going to die.
Yeah, but, the lawsuit, now I'm just going to give you the gist of this lawsuit.
Okay.
The lawsuit asks a New York civil court for a writ of habeas corpus for Tommy the chimpanzee, arguing that New York laws do not limit legal personhood to Homo sapiens.
So, and this only because I have not heard of this news story, why is Tommy the chimpanzee the focus of this particular?
Interesting question. Glad you asked. And here is where this chimp is living. He's living in a sanctuary. He was abused by some private ownership. And these people, Patrick and Diane Lavery, put him in a special built cage out in their garage. Now listen to what's in there. The cage that he lives in exceeds federal and state standards and is inspected every year. One wall is open to an outdoor play area. And at this time of the year, Tommy the chimp stays inside a heated building to an average temperature of 70 degrees, and all the concrete walls inside by his cage have been painted and decorated by professional artists to look like a jungle. And he has his own private color TV and cable, and he loves to watch cartoons.
Well, it sounds like he's got a better outfit than I do. Can I move in?
I was just thinking about that.
You know,
hey, Tommy, you got room for one more?
You know, okay, so Tommy the chimp, living in a very nice atmosphere. He's being loved for and cared for, being, I'm assuming, rehabilitated from his abuse. And so with this type of an animal, you just can't let him out into the wild because he's been domesticated. He's not going to know how to fend for himself.
Think of the idiocy and the absolute cruelty along with the pathetic situation that would be created.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden these laws persisted in all states and they won, there would be no more of anything. There would be no more fairs, there'd be no more 4-H, there'd be no more dog shows, there'd be no more rodeos, there'd be no more anything with animals. But the question that's never answered by these people is, these dimwits that have an IQ of a burned out bulb, what are you going to do with the animals? How are you going to feed them? How are you going to give them medical attention? What's going to happen then?
Well, you can't just let them loose on society. You can't just say, open the gates and say, okay, you're free.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way because these animals have been domesticated, and so they are relying on the human factor to feed them, to shelter them, and to make sure that they're in good health. You can't just let them out into the wild and say, yep, there you go, have a good time.
But do you see how dangerous this is when you have people that do nothing but sit in rocking chairs and pet a kitty cat? You know, I almost got myself in a lot of trouble there.
Yes, you did.
It was close. It was nip and tuck and tuck and nip. I really was scared there for a second. But, and they have nothing to do but send big checks to these humane societies thinking they're doing good.
But they're not doing it because, and obviously I don't know these people, but maybe they have never owned an animal and they don't know the care that is involved with an animal, and you just can't open up the door, open up the gates of an animal that's been domesticated and has always lived in a domesticated lifestyle. You can't turn them out into the wild because they will not survive, and there will be mass death of animals if we just turn them loose.
Yeah, and I go back to the Bible. I mean, when you're going to go back to something as a subject matter or something as the stability of anybody's life, I think it should be the Bible. And God gave man dominion over all the plants and animals of the earth. And, anytime you get these knot-headed, bicycle-spoke-minded people that say, well, that plant, that poison ivy over there is the same equivalency as a human being. Or that cougar up on the mountain, why, he's as valuable as Zeb's grandson. That's where I really start drawing the line that we've got so far away from what God intended in this country that I feel sorry for the human race over the next couple of decades.
Well, I kind of agree, and I think that I'm hoping that this New York court will throw this out, because this chimp is living a very, very plush lifestyle, and he's very well cared for.
Well, think about it from Tommy's point of view. I mean, the guy's getting cable TV, he's getting cartoons, he's getting the best of food, he's getting a great surrounding, and then all of a sudden these do-gooders throw him out in the wilds, and he's going to be one teed-off little chimp.
Yeah, he would be, and rightfully so, because they just took him out of the lap of luxury.
Amen. Oh my gosh, you know what I forgot?
Michael Rogers' weather.
I did, but we're going to make up for it right now.
Okay.
Weather is brought to you by Magic Valley Chalet in the Upper Crust at 1367th Street in Hebron. Oh, what a great place to go! All your cheese, all your ice cream, and upstairs the Upper Crust. What a super menu on that great restaurant. Oh, my goodness. Magic Valley Chalet, thick as mud shakes. I love that. I love everything there. And they've got goodie baskets, and you can customize your basket, and they can deliver the basket within a reason for $5 locally or use UPS. Oh my, you've got to stop in. These are my friends. I love the food. I love everything about them. Magic Valley Chalet and Upper Crust, 1367th Street in Hebron. Here now, Michael Rogers' weather.
Everybody, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. As advertised, we've got the cold weather. It's going to be with us, and we're going to struggle today just to even just stay warm. Now, for the purposes of snow on the ground, I don't really need to tell you to take it easy, slow down, because basically this is the first snow. But you got some pretty stuff on the ground. The roads are slick. It's just going to be a mess out there today. So please, whatever you do, be careful. Look for a high today, 25, high tomorrow, 21, high Friday with snow in the forecast. Up 27. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you this hour by the Magic Valley Chalet and Upper Crust. Ooh, good food. Nice people. 1360 7th Street in Hayburn. Absolutely. Oh, my. I had one other thing I needed to mention here real quick, and I can't. Oh, the holiday greetings. Yes, Merry Christmas greetings. Thank you for reminding me, everybody. Merry Christmas from my old bull riding buddy Jimmy at People's Quality Pack, and you better believe it, for all your custom cut meats and wrap, call Jimmy at 436-4557 at People's Quality Pack. Merry Christmas. And AMI at 719 Overland and Burley. Look for the big 28-foot wrench over the door. Go nuts over their bolts. I don't know why I chuckle every time I say that. Also, Merry Christmas from them. And don't forget to Certified Pest Control. Get rid of those nasty pests. And they can help you. Give them a call at 312-5856. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Certified Pest Control. Along with my buddy Joe Taylor. There's a great guy. Greatest guy I've ever met. Joe Taylor with Kerry Adams Realty. Buying and selling real estate. One call does it all. Give old Joe a call. 678-9400. All of these businesses giving you and wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Coming up next hour, we're going to have some very, very interesting people on the air, and I really want you to stay tuned because we're going to have at 10:06 from the Institute of Energy Research. Travis Fisher is going to be on. He's a policy analyst, and he's going to tell us really how much money, really, and how much time and how much effort we've wasted, totally thrown down the toilet bowl on green energy, especially wind energy. And then at 10:30, very, very happy to have George Mason law professor Jeremy Rabkin from the East Coast coming on, talking about really this Iranian deal that we struck to ease up on the sanctions while they're still going to go ahead with nuclear studies. Not good. Not good. We're going to have him on the air at 10:30. Want to remind everybody I need your help. Yes, I do. I would love to have you just maybe throw in an extra can of soup or a can of beans or something. Zeb at the Ranch, along with Rupert POW, would like you to drop off a couple of canned goods to help the needy at this Christmas time. And here's the places to drop them off. And we got some really nice-looking boxes, compliments of George Mass. He put them all together for us. Ramsey Heating and Electric, Les Schwab and Rupert, Paul, and Burley. City of Rupert offices, Valley White Home and Ranch, Kings in Rupert, and Alaska's Best in Rupert. Come on, let's help people during this time of the year. Hey, canned goods, Zeb at the Ranch and the Rupert POW, thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you and your family. One quick note here, and I haven't had a chance to say too much about it. Put down on December 19th, Thursday, December 19th, I want you to please join us at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 5:30 in the afternoon. We're all going to get on the back of a flatbed trailer with straw, and Kenny Mort's going to have his sound system, and we're going to have hot chocolate and cookies, compliments of our friends at Smith's Food King and Ramsey Heating, and, of course, Travel Loop Supply. And we're going to go around singing Christmas carols, and Kenny Mort's going to have the sound system. We're just going to have a good old-fashioned Christmas caroling. So join us at Ramsey's on December 19th at 5:30 p.m. Singing Christmas carols. I don't care if you can sing. I don't care if you couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. We'll just get some extra buckets. Come on along, and it'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to head for the news. Listen to what ABC's got to say. Stand by. I'll be back in 6. Merry Christmas! I love Christmas time. Thank you. That bell, by the way, that has a lot of value to me. It was given to me by Alan Polly Butler, I think about, 6 or 7 years ago, I think, at least. And I've got it as part of my Christmas memorabilia that I'll never part with. Good morning, I'm Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and welcome to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, and of course, some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them at 734-6969. Got a guest on the air. We'll get to him in just a moment, but I want to remind you about this time of the morning, my whole stomach starts to growl, and I know a great place to go. Yes, sir. Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. They've got delicious luncheon specials every Monday through Friday for just $5.95, and then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon through 6 o'clock, they've got senior citizen dinner specials, and today they're going to have pasta primavera. Why is that hard to say? Pasta primavera with garlic toast and super salad. That's today at the Chadwick Sports Grill. Neat people. Great place. Chadwick Sports Grill. Stop in and see them today. Also, real quick, I want to remind you about some of our great Merry Christmas advertisers, and they include, saying Merry Christmas to you includes Pro Paint at 1116 Overland and Burley. Best paint, best stains, best advice. Doggone, they even got gift certificates for you at Pro Paint in Burley, wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Along with some other great folks, and that includes Golden Valley Warehouse at 468 West, 100 South of Burley, locally owned and operated. Quality, seated, competitive prices. Merry Christmas. And Beauty Irrigation at 116 South, 600 West Highway 27 in Paul, and the new one at 22342 Kimberly Road, Twin Falls, right there on Kimberly Road. Congratulations to all the farmers. Don't forget Butte Irrigation. And last but not least, Magic Valley Carpet at 613 D Street in Rupert. All the carpet needs, and may God bless you this Christmas season. Merry Christmas from all of those great folks. Right now with us on the radio, he's probably sick and tired of waiting, and he's getting antsy, and he says, come on, hurry up, I want to go to lunch. We have with us policy analyst for the Institute for Energy Research, Travis Fisher. Good morning, Travis. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. It's great to be on.
Well, it's nice to have you on the air. Where are you at? In New York or Washington, or where am I calling to right now?
We are based in Washington, D.C.
Now, what's the weather at? Right now, this very moment, what's it doing?
It's actually not bad. We've been pretty fortunate. Something like 55. I can't complain.
Right now, here at Zeb at the Ranch, let me give you an update on this because it's doggone cold. 14.
Wow.
You want to trade?
I will not take that trade. I'm sorry.
Right. Travis, I'll say this up front, and you can correct me and say whatever you want because you're my guest. I think the hypocrisy and the wastage from green energy, primarily wind energy, with those stupid cancers on the land windmills, has cost all of America a lot of money, and it's getting worse. What are your thoughts?
I can't disagree with any part of that. That's actually what a recent study that we put out on Monday. We focus on the federal wind energy subsidies and the effect across the states, and we focus on how the transfer is ultimately from the taxpayer to these wind companies, and that there's a significant amount of federal dollars going to these companies.
All right, now when you say subsidies, break this down for me and tell me exactly how every American basically is paying for this idiocy.
Well, there's one main federal wind energy subsidy right now. It's called the Wind Production Tax Credit. And what it does is it pays a wind producer, no matter what the value of the actual wind power is, you get a pretty hefty subsidy that's almost equal to the wholesale price of electricity. So instead of just producing electricity for its own value and for consumers, these companies are going after the subsidies, and it distorts markets, it's inefficient, it breaks down electric grid reliability. There's all sorts of problems with that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Travis, but to date, and please jump in with facts that I don't know about, to date, green energy and primarily exclusively wind energy has not turned a profit anywhere, has it not?
I do believe, first of all, it's impossible to tell because it's been subsidized so heavily throughout. So, especially if you're talking about wind power, this subsidy has been around since 1992. So it's really hard to tell whether or to what extent wind would be around without the subsidy. I believe, and a lot of energy analysts believe, there would be some wind power. There is some that makes sense. the only way to know for sure is to take away the subsidy and see what survives.
Why wasn't the program, and I know this is hindsight, but I need to ask this, why did the government have to get involved in this? Wouldn't it have been a lot better economically and also as a business standpoint if it stood on its own legs and its own merit, and sink or swim, they tried to do it as private enterprise, and we could have really seen whether or not it was worthwhile?
Well, that's certainly what I believe. In terms of what happened in 1992, I believe there was at one point an infant industry argument, if you will, that the wind power industry would be able to stand on its own 2 feet if it only got a little help up front. And the issue with that argument is the subsidy's been around since 1992.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an infant anymore. And if it still needs help, then I prefer to take off the training wheels at this point.
I love that terminology, take off the training wheels and let it stand on its own merit. So who are the guys, who are the fat cats, or the states, or the people, or the whatever? Who's the people making the most money off of this with subsidies?
Well, the wind producers themselves can bank these tax credits and essentially give themselves zero tax liability, which is a huge thing. One estimate is if this tax credit were to be extended for another year, as it has in the past. It's expired in the past and been extended over and over. A 1-year extension, the estimate is something like a $6 billion paycheck to the wind industry just on a 1-year extension.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, you can see why they want to play that game instead of actually producing energy. Going after subsidies is also a very lucrative business.
So, explain this to me, and if I say this wrong, jump in. So basically, to have wind energy in a respective state or region, whether it's the Northeast, Southeast, West, Midwest, Southwest, whatever, whether it turns any profit whatsoever, it's the subsidies that are being paid from American citizens that are really holding these things up and propping them up, and without the subsidies, probably they would sink into oblivion forever, right?
Yeah, I mean it's impossible to know. I still think there would be some wind industry, but I think if you take away the subsidy, they'd have to change the business plan. They'd have to, instead of going after subsidies, instead of spending time in Washington lobbying Congress, so what they'd have to do as a business plan is to actually produce energy, which it's not a terrible technology. It has some uses, but fundamentally, it's not a very energy-dense field to be in. It only works when the wind blows. There are fundamental problems to the wind industry that you can't necessarily get around. So I think ultimately it would be smaller. They'd have to scale back. They'd have to reframe and reassess their whole business plan, because right now the business plan is mostly talk to Washington.
Yeah. Travis, do you think, with your expertise as a policy analyst for the Institute of Energy Research, do you think that if the general American public, the guy that's out working for the county, the guy that's a veterinarian, the guy that's a lawyer, the housewife, or whatever, if they really knew how insidious these subsidies were and how much it's costing them out of their own pocket, they'd be outraged, wouldn't they?
I believe so, and that's the conversation I've had several times over, where at first the conversation starts out, it wasn't wind power good, and then you start breaking down not just the sort of the technical aspects of the industry, but the political aspects and how much lobbying goes into. I mean, there's a group called the American Wind Energy Association that spends a lot of time. Their main focus right now is to extend this tax credit to confer more subsidies onto their clients, the wind industry. And I feel like it's my job to make people more aware that that's what's going on, that their congressperson has the power to just, actually if they do nothing, it dies. It expires at the end of the year. So all we're asking for people to do is speak up and say they want this thing just to expire once and for all. It's like the zombie subsidy. It just keeps coming back to life.
Okay.
Kill the thing.
Let me interrupt. We have a phone call with a question. Go ahead, caller, for Travis Fisher. You're on the air.
Yes. Would you have any comment not only on the are we spending tax dollars on it, but we're spending we're paying through higher costs on our power bills because it's mandated that, as I recall, that the power companies have to buy a certain percentage of it at about 4 times the rate that they produce power at, and they have to blend that in, and we wind up paying that in higher bills.
Absolutely.
Any comment on that?
Very good question. Travis, please respond to that.
I'd love to talk about that. There's a slew of policies. There's one called the Public Utilities Regulatory Policies Act. PURPA, it's kind of a mouthful, but there was a case with Idaho Power where it's all about you pretty much have to take this power, and the caller is exactly right. It's a weird combination of there's federal subsidies, there's the federal rules that say utility has to buy this power at a certain cost, and ultimately those costs do get passed on to ratepayers, and they're in every utility bill. I'm not sure if they itemize that bill in Idaho or not. Some do. But the tricky thing is it is coming at you from a few different angles. It's in your bill itself, but it's also the tax dollars. So it's not 100% clear to the average person. I think the caller has a little better handle on this than the average person. It's a complicated issue, and it would be impossible to just wrap your mind around if you weren't living this issue day to day the way that folks at IER do.
Travis, let me ask you this, and maybe this is kind of an ambiguous question, I don't know, but looking at a per annum basis, let's say last year, 2012, how much money do you think we wasted on subsidies just for wind power on a contiguous 48-state basis? How much money do you think that we lost?
Well, our estimate is something in the $3 billion.
$3 billion with a B?
Billion with a B.
Oh, my goodness.
But, it gets a little complicated because there's so many different subsidies and mandates, and it depends how you do the accounting. But that's a decent ballpark figure. It's staggering.
When I look at Obamacare, and I look at the total devastation and idiotic movement that has caused in this country, and how people are suffering because of the program itself, and then I look at our energy program when we're sitting, you're standing, I'm sitting right now possibly on all the vast wealth that God has given any nation, all the oil, all the other benefits that we have naturally, the natural gas, everything in this country, and we're not using them, and we're throwing money away down the toilet bowl for green energy like wind energy. Travis, it makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying. The interesting thing is with new technology, with hydraulic fracturing, for example, you can produce so much here, and we're actually the estimate now is that it'll only take till 2015 for the U.S. to actually produce more oil and gas than any other country in the world. So we're poised to be a world leader in that kind of production. We still subsidize, I would argue, the wrong kind.
Let me ask you one final thought here this morning, though. We're looking at an economy that right now is shaky at best. We're looking at an economy that's got its heels on the edge of the cliff, and all it needs is a little push, and we're going to topple into the Grand Canyon. We're looking at an economy that overnight, and I'll stand behind my words, overnight, if we would release the beast as far as energy is concerned, and drive gas down, drive diesel fuel down, and drive more as far as progress is concerned in progressing with our own energy programs, I dare say that we could have an America that would absolutely act like a total boom town in less than 18 months. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree with that 100%, and you can actually see it in the places that allow production to take place. You have unemployment, record low unemployment in North Dakota, for example, and if you could extend that to the whole country, I can only imagine the kind of good that would come of that.
Why are they hindering us? Why is this nation so bent on living in the dark ages, like living in a cave and eating and burning buffalo dung to keep warm, for heaven's sakes? Why are we trying to digress instead of progress? I don't understand it when we're the number one country in the world. You got to help me on this one.
Well, personally, I believe it comes from a flawed energy philosophy. It comes from this idea that we're running out of things, that we're running out of resources, and the fact is we're not. We're finding more every day. And the way we're producing now, I feel like that ought to turn it on its head. The old idea that we need to conserve, use less, do everything you want to do less, turn off your TV, drive your car less, all of that, I think that needs to go out the window. I think that's a flawed philosophy. I think on a fundamental level that needs to be rethought.
But how do you do it when you've got your schools, your school systems all across the United States getting this mindset into the kindergartners, the first graders, the third graders, the high schoolers, everything else? They think that anybody that's out using energy for a living, maybe it's the farmer, maybe it's the factory, maybe it's whatever, maybe it's the salesman on the road. They condemn them. They think they're bad, evil people. How do we turn this mindset around?
I wish I was going to ask you for some tips on that. Honestly, it's a tough task, and we embrace it here at the Institute for Energy Research. That's our job, to educate the public on energy and what energy means to the economy and all of that. So I'm all ears in terms of the best way to send that message, but that is exactly the message that we want to send.
Well, you can bet that this program and me, I'm a very obtuse individual when it comes to saying what I mean and saying what I feel, and I'm not going to back up for anybody. A country that's reliant on other countries for its energy is a country that's going to go down to a third-rate status. We saw what happened when we had a lot of embargoes on food and oil, and we're going to see the same thing get worse if we don't start raising more of an energy standard in this country. Travis, I appreciate it. Institute for Energy Research Policy Analyst Travis Fisher. God bless, and may you have a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you, and same to you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Can you imagine? He said over $3 billion. 3 with a B billion dollars. Choop, it's gone. Out of here. Where'd it go? Well, it went out the window, and a little bit of it blew over here towards Hagerman Valley. A little bit of it blew right over here east of me with these idiotic wind turbines on the hills. $3 billion in subsidies lost, gone, for nothing, on green energy that is absolutely ridiculous. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I agree. And I think it's wonderful you got this person like this on your radio station. But unless he can get that message out to other stations like MSNBC, CBS, ABC, the education channels, you know, he's talking to people that understand what's wrong with our energy program when he talks to your station.
Not in entirety.
I imagine there's one person that listens on K-Bar that isn't knowledgeable.
No, I disagree with you.
Of what this does.
No, I disagree with your point there a little bit, because I still think there's a ray of hope, a beacon of sunshine that comes into certain people's minds, even though they might not agree with the conservative attitude. They still listen, and maybe some common sense will open up their mind and say, hey, wait a minute, this is the wrong way to go. But I do agree with you that until we get the media out of bed with Obama and this very, very liberal dynamic that's happening back east, we're never going to see any change. And I was very blessed to have a lot of people with the Institute for Energy Research come on this program. But you're 100% right. Until we get in the grade schools, until we get teachers that understand and are not the liberal loons that many of them are today, you're right. We're not going to win.
And we do have a few liberals that listen to your station, I think, are becoming educated. You know, it's surprising to me, but I think they are. But it's not enough. We need more.
I agree.
We need a whole bunch more.
I agree. Jerry?
I just wish that you could figure out the answer, because I'll guarantee you I never will. I'm too dumb.
I'm trying, my friend. God bless you, and Merry Christmas to my dear friend and your family. Thank you so much.
You bet. You have a wonderful day, and may the Lord bless.
He already has. Thank you. He got me out of the MRI yesterday without me tearing it apart. Thanks, Jerry. Hey, don't forget, next Thursday, oh my goodness, is it next Thursday already? No, it can't be next Thursday already. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be over there. Yes, it is next Thursday, December 12th. Holy cow, time flies when you're having fun. Valley-wide Home and Ranch Christmas Cowboy Remote. Oh, we're going to be over there. I'm going to be sitting at the table, and we're just going to have have a ripping good time at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, next Thursday, December 12th from 8 to 11. You can register that morning to win some really sharp men's and women's Western clothing. And I'm going to provide, along with Steve, some free cinnamon rolls for the first hour, 8 to 9. Come on in. And don't forget, they're going to have specials in the store that you're just going to knock your socks off. Ken Mort's going to be there singing Christmas carols. Oh, don't miss it. On Thursday, December 12th, 8 a.m. to 11, the Valleywide Home and Ranch Cowboy Christmas Remote. We'll see you there. Okay, now, real quick, I also want to Barry Rental and Equipment. Now, I talked to these old boys the other day, and they've got a special, and I know a lot of people, whether you're in the dairy business or whatever kind of business you're in, you're looking for a Bobcat, they've got a special this week you don't want to miss. Barry Equipment and Rental at Twin Falls, address 465 Addison Avenue West, and in Burley, their new location, good bunch of guys over there at 159 West Highway 30. Believe me, they've got a special this week, a 2009 S175 Bobcat. I love those things. Local rental unit, new tires, 2,000 hours, runs really well, only $18,950. Financing is available. You better get on the phone right now. Right now, call about that Bobcat. Call Eli at 732-7368 or Nick, good old Nick, 678-7368. And also, they've got rental equipment to help you get those Christmas decorations up. Yeah, I betcha. Barry Equipment and Rental, Twin Falls and Burley, serving you. We're going to take a little break in just a moment and send it back over to our main studios, and the lovely Gina Jameson will take care of it. And then coming up, we're going to have Professor Jeremy Rabkin from George Mason Law University on the air talking about the Iranian deal. A quick reminder, tomorrow is Lunch Bunch. Yes, it is. We're having the combination Thanksgiving and Christmas Lunch Bunch tomorrow at Perkins Restaurant in Burley. Oh, please be there. We've got a lot of great gift certificates to give away, compliments of Smith's Food, Walmart, and Hanson Mortuary. And we're going to give a Christmas present to everybody that's there. Going to be fun. Looking forward to it. Zeb's Lunch Bunch at Delicious Perkins Restaurant tomorrow at 11:30. All right, now, let's head back over to our main studios. I'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you very much and welcome back. And before we get our guest on the air, I want to remind you that if you fell off the roof adjusting Santa on the chimney, Riverview Urgent Care is there. If you stapled your fingers together while fixing Santa's reindeer, Riverview is there. No matter what you do to yourself to injure yourself, always remember Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center is there at 382 North Overland in Burley, 678-6996. Minor emergencies, major care. The doctor will see you now. Don't forget, stop in anytime, all the time at Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 9, Sundays 1 to 7. No appointments necessary, and they wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Gina, I think what we'll do quickly, because of our guest coming on the air next, we'll do a quick weather update with Michael Rogers and then go with Dr. Rabkin. Thank you.
Everybody, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. As advertised, we've got the cold weather. It's going to be good for us. We're going to struggle today just to even just stay warm. Now, for the purposes of snow on the ground, I don't really need to tell you to take it easy, slow down, because basically this is the first snow. But you got some pretty stuff on the ground. The roads are slick. It's just going to be a mess out there today. So please, whatever you do, be careful. Look for a high today at 25, high tomorrow 21, high Friday with snow in the forecast up 27. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you very much, MichaelRogersWeather.com. And ladies and gentlemen, the other day we had looked forward to, and evidently we couldn't make connections, but we're blessed to have him on the program this morning. George Mason University Law School professor Jeremy Rabkin. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
You know, the last time I had you on the program, I was quite intrigued with your knowledge on politics and what's going on. And let me just state my case on this, and you can tell me how wrong I am. I think it's absolute lunacy to think that the deal that was struck between the United States and Iran is anything at all except appeasement. I think there were many, many things that should have been done and things that needed to remain stronger or stronger than they have been in the past. I think they got away with literal murder as far as Iran is concerned. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I'm on your side. I'm not sure I would endorse every single claim that you made there, but this does not seem to me a very good deal. The two things that are reassuring are, it's for 6 months, and it's been greeted with a lot of skepticism. So people will be looking carefully to see what happens over the next few months. And given their track record, I don't think the Iranians have it in them to, really fool us by behaving well for 6 months, which would be a sensible strategy for them. But they're not really in favor of being sensible.
Dr. Rabkin,
I think with before this 6 months period is up, people will just say this was a mistake.
Dr. Rabkin, really, what was in it for us? A lot of times when you're making a deal, whether you're Donald Trump or whether you're an insurance agent or whatever the case might be, you make a deal that's got to be something in it for the host. And I don't see there's anything in this deal for us, the United States. Let me state an example. By weakening the sanctions before Iran has proven themselves to be world worthy of their word as far as nuclear arms and as far as the proliferation of more nuclear activity, we're weakening up front and taking them at their word. This is complete idiocy as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it wasn't really shrewd tactics. Let's agree on that. Just trying to make the best case for it, which I myself don't really agree with, but I think maybe what President Obama was thinking was maybe the Iranians have actually been squeezed enough from the sanctions, and that part is plausible. They have been squeezed a lot. They really would like to back down, but they can't just openly surrender, so this agreement gives them the space to kind of back off in a way that isn't humiliating. And I think that is not impossible. But you have to be very optimistic about their intentions. They've been trying for, more than 2 decades to get themselves nuclear, pretty clearly it seems nuclear weapons. And for 2 decades they've been willing to persist, even though, we've harumphed and then we've started sanctions and we've really been squeezing them for a while. So the optimistic view that now they really do want to give up on all that, well, it's very optimistic.
Pastor Abedini from Boise, Idaho, is being held captive in a terrible, very heinous prison in Iran. He's guilty of doing nothing more than trying to establish orphanages in the country, his home country, where his mother and father still reside. I have had his wife on my program, and I've listened to her and heard the tears and the plea for help to get her husband released. Why couldn't John Kerry, why couldn't Barack Hussein Obama, as Secretary of State and respectively the President, why couldn't they have made a finger-pointing demand? We will do this after our people are safe at an embassy, nothing more.
I think that would have been a good thing to do. Apart from the humanitarian aspect of it, I think it would have been good to say, we are paying attention, our eyes are open, we know who you are, we want you to give us some indications that you're changing your stripes, your general position in the world. Again, I think the most charitable thing you can say is they thought, oh, well, if we make it an ultimatum, then it will be embarrassing for the Iranians to give in, and so we have to just let them down gently. I personally agree with you. I think it's a mistake to do it that way, but that's probably what they have in mind.
But is that our modus operandi now, Dr. Rabkin? Are we like a big old hound dog that used to be a good hunting dog, but now it can't pick up a pheasant because it hasn't got any more teeth?
Yeah. That's a thing to worry about. And the real thing is, It doesn't even matter what we believe about our teeth, or even what our dentist tells us, or our veterinarian. People around the world are making their own judgments. And if they see the dog whimpering and not hunting, they will conclude that that dog has had it. And I think we're at the point now where Saudi Arabia has decided, the Americans have just gone completely soft and they're totally unreliable. Now, here's why that matters, right? The thing that we need to think about is not just, are we ashamed or embarrassed? We could get over that. But that is a very, very dangerous region, and the Saudis are the people who paid for the Pakistani nuclear program. And very likely, when they were delivering all the funding for it, they said, and by the way, if we ever need some of these bombs, you'll give them to us, right? So a very likely outcome of all this within the next few months is that the Saudis say, by the way, we now have our own bombs. If Saudi Arabia has its own nuclear bombs, it's very unlikely that Turkey will say, well, that's okay, we're not really an important enough country, we don't need it. They will almost certainly insist that they need to have their own, and then Egypt will insist that it needs to have its own. I wouldn't put it past the Pakistanis to sell to everybody, or the North Koreans. So in a very short time, you have the most tense region of the world just crammed with nuclear weapons on every side. And, what are we going to do about that?
Well, you didn't mention one country that I'm more afraid of than any, because they've got a lunatic president. He'll do anything, including killing and using chemical weapons on his own people, and that's Syria. What are your thoughts about them?
Well, they are at this point, they're totally dependent on Iran. It's Iran that's really propping them up, to the point of actually sending soldiers into Syria. It's the only country that has directly and pretty openly sent its own soldiers into Syria. So I don't know which way that goes, but I think an Iranian bomb implies nuclear protection for Syria.
Our ally.
That is all. That just adds to the really, really. It's like a whole area of flammable kindling, and now people are pouring kerosene on it. Mm-hmm. And pretty soon they'll be handing out matches and saying, "Let's see who can light their matches the most quickly."
Yeah, and that's a very good analogy. Very good analogy. But Dr. Rabkin, the number one friend, the number one ally that we have there is Israel. Nobody can blame Netanyahu or anybody for living in a constant state of fear over what's happening over there.
Yes. And of course, he's been quite open about saying he thinks this is a terrible deal. Mm-hmm. And I think the White House was not very reassuring to him, right? They basically said, stop whining. Don't worry about it. I mean, what the White House, this is their fallback, right? They're saying, we absolutely will not allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon. But if they do, don't worry, because we'll protect all our friends. So, of course, the friends don't find that reassuring. I think Israel in particular does not find that reassuring, because for 20 years they were saying, you can trust us. We won't allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon. And pretty clearly what the Obama administration has been doing for 5 years is telling Israel, don't act on your own. Don't attack the Iranians. Just wait. We'll take care of this. And at the end of it, they don't take care of it. So then it's very hard to trust anything they say about, well, okay, now we'll protect you. So, all of this makes it seem as if we are more likely to see some kind of war there than not.
Let me ask you this question.
I mean, I should remind your audience, Israel has now, I think, 3, or at least 2 nuclear submarines.
Right.
Which are cruising around, probably in the Mediterranean, and they have nuclear missiles. So that is a somewhat reassuring deterrent, right? The Iranians cannot hope that if they attack Israel, then Israel won't be able to retaliate, because it will always have those offshore submarines. But we don't know how crazy the Iranians are. Maybe they are crazy enough to just take their chances. Maybe they're even crazy enough to think, well, we'll lose a few cities on the return strike, but it'll be worth it. It's all very, very alarming.
When you look at this situation and this region on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being very mild, 10 being possibly Armageddon, Where are we right now?
I'm sure you know this. The original Armageddon was in that region.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And all the prophecies about it are that region. And if you just look around the world, this is still the scariest part of the world. I mean, it's the part of the world that is closest to, at this point, looks like it's closest to triggering a nuclear confrontation. So it is very scary. Now, if you're asking me, are we real close to this, and is this going to happen in the next 6 months? I don't think so. I hope not. But over the next 1, 2, 3 years, it's scary.
Okay, now, you stand up in front of your students at George Mason University. What are the students thinking? What are their thoughts? What's the younger generation thinking, asking questions about this particular situation? What are their thoughts?
Well, I don't want to be their spokesman, but I have noticed that they're very distrustful of what other countries will do. And some of them draw the conclusion from that we should just not be tangled up with other countries because they're all unreliable. And some of them draw the opposite conclusion, which is we really need to hold tight to our friends, because in a world like this, you really need to have friends. I think most of them, of course, they're young, and what they're really thinking about is, I need to pass the bar exam first.
I see. Doctor...
I'm glad not to be in charge of foreign policy. I think that's true of most of them.
When you look at this administration right now, where Obama has bowed to other world leaders and seemed to capitulate and make less of our situation around the world, and people really don't have the respect for us like they used to, with the old adage, speak softly but carry a big stick, I'm very concerned as a father, a husband, and a grandfather about the world that's coming up for the next generation. I don't see America as the superpower that it has been or will possibly lose in the future. I think we're on our way to becoming a third world, third-rate country. Am I wrong in feeling that way?
You're premature in feeling that way. It takes a while for us to get down to that level. But we are not going in a good direction, I admit that. One of the things that is so maddening about this, and also alarming, it is all in a package with other things. Everybody's scratching their head and saying, what do you mean Obama didn't know about the website? Why didn't he ask about the website? Why wasn't he interested? This was his main domestic program. This is the one thing that has his name on it, Obamacare. Why wasn't he interested? Why wasn't he paying attention? And the answer seems to be, he'd given some speeches. And he thought, you just give a speech and then it takes care of itself, because the most important thing is to give a speech. And he would think that, because that's all he's ever done in his life, is go around and give speeches. And people told him, that was a great speech. That was wonderful. That was so great. So he has a wildly exaggerated notion about how much you can achieve by giving a speech. It's the opposite of the Teddy Roosevelt adage, right? Speak softly, but carry a big stick. This is go around giving inspirational speeches, and then the world will say, wow, you're right, I never thought of that. Ooh, yeah, okay. And if you think it's completely crazy, which of course it is, but you think, it's too crazy, he can't think that. He won the Nobel Prize. When he'd been in office for whatever it was, 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
And for what? He hadn't had a chance to do anything. He had not done anything. He literally had not done anything. And the Nobel Prize Committee said, wow, your speeches are so great. You deserve a Nobel Prize. So, of course, he has the tendency to exaggerate how much you can achieve by inspirational rhetoric.
One final thought here this morning, Dr. Rabkin, and I'm very interested in this subject, and I think there's a lot more to the story than what we know or have any reason to know right now, and that's Benghazi. I think there's a severe cover-up as to what was really going on with the ambassador and that compound. Do you think there are many, many things that are going to creep out of the closet and hurt this administration in the future regarding Benghazi?
Honestly, I don't know, but I do think that the people who were upset about this, and I was one of them, thought, wait a minute, how could this be? We had an attack on our ambassador. We had people killed, and they didn't know, they didn't anticipate. How could that be? And we were basically thinking there's something really, really just unbelievably incompetent, if not really sinister here. And I think everybody else was saying, "Oh, no, come on, they're not unbelievably incompetent. No, come on, we can't assume that. But I mean, there must be some, we don't really understand it, but it must have been, they were doing their best, and it's good, really good." Well, that was all before the experience that we've had since then with the website, right? That was before all the experience that we've had now with, wait, you told everyone that they could keep their insurance, and now it turns out that was a lie. So people, I think, are now more open to the possibility that they were stunningly incompetent and maybe worse. So I think if there is more information that comes out about Benghazi, there's going to be more of an audience. It's not just going to be people who have been assuming the worst about Obama all along. I think there's a wider audience for this. So I think we will be hearing more about this.
All right. Sir, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your coming on our program. You're always welcome. And Dr. Jeremy Rabkin from George Mason University, the very best of Christmas wishes to you, God's blessings, and thanks for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, sir.
I'm glad I was able to come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very interesting gentleman, and I'm very happy to have him on the program, Dr. Jeremy Rabkin, and he is a George Mason University law professor back east and an expert in international law and the law of armed conflict. Appreciate his thoughts. Calls are welcome and appreciated, as always, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I tell you, getting people like him on this program and sharing their thoughts, knowing that they're standing up in front of students, maybe 300, 400, 500, 600 students a day studying law at George Mason, and knowing his thoughts as to what the students are asking questions about, what the younger generation thinks about what's going on with this administration and world politics. Really interesting to see where we're headed in the future. Don't forget our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Service is the key word. Absolutely. They've got all the tires, all the traction tires for wintertime driving. A lot of them pinned for studs, ready to go, get you through the ice and the snow. And don't forget, for your cars, pickups, and SUVs, just go on in. Ask them questions. They've got the answers at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And don't forget, too, the best in batteries. Boy, I tell you what, you better make sure your battery's in good shape. And they've got a free battery test for your battery, and if it's not going to perform up to snuff, you better get a new one in these cold days ahead. And all the snow wheels and the tire chains and, of course, the best in brake service. All of this and much, much more with your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike in Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, Gina, again, kudos to you for everything that goes on over at the studio. Johnny on the spot with everything. But I think that last guest proves the dedication that all of us have connected to this program, to trying to make sure that we get nothing but the cream of the crop as far as guests on this program are concerned.
I really liked what he had to say.
Sharp man. And I wanted to kind of feel him out a little bit on his thoughts about Pastor Abedini, and glad to hear that he agrees with me that there should have been a very in-your-face, pointed discussion. We will negotiate with you after they're sitting in an embassy safe and sound.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to try to do some Christmas shopping today.
Good luck.
Yeah, I hate that. I just hate it. I mean, I just don't want to do it. I mean, I sit there and I go to Deanne and I say, here, buy your own Christmas present. That's how poor I am at shopping.
Well, I have no sympathy for you because I have to go out and do some Christmas shopping too. So
I already got your gift. I got it back before Halloween, for Pete's sakes.
See, that is pre-planning, and I think next year I'm going to start Christmas shopping in July.
You know, there's a lot of people that do all their Christmas shopping. When is it? Right after all the sales after the Christmas holidays?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they, save those for the next year, which is a great idea. But since, for me, it would take me all year, pinch a little money here, a little money there. And so I think that's what I'm going to do this next year.
Deanne is the hardest person in the world for me to buy for. And you're probably going to hear me get on the air some morning before we actually go on the actual air. And I'm going to ask you questions about, what should I get my wife? I don't know. I don't know what to get her. And if you get somebody clothes and then all of a sudden she opens it up Christmas morning and she goes, gee, how nice.
Did you keep the receipt for this one? Oh, good. Thank you.
Believe me, shopping for her, I keep receipts on everything, even if it's a garden hoe.
Well, sometimes for people like that, unique gifts or gift cards always work great.
That's impersonal.
It is very impersonal.
I don't like that. I don't like giving.
Honestly, you should know your wife well enough to know what she likes and doesn't.
Well, I do, but after 42 years, really, what do you get? What do you get somebody that you've been married to that long?
Something nice.
Exactly.
Something that's worthy of 42 years.
Okay. Hit me with some ideas there, Miss Know-It-All.
I'm drawing a blank. And besides, Deanne is listening, so I can't really...
You know what? It's bad about this conversation. You hit the nail on the head. She was going outside. She turned around, comes down the hallway, and she's standing there with that
she's got
kind
her
of...
hands on her hips, and she's
she does.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of one of those prison warden looks,
Like Zeb Bell,
yeah.
I'm going to get you after you get off the air, young man.
Yeah, get back to making your license plates, big boy.
Yeah, so don't worry, Deanne, I got you covered, but we're not going to talk about what we're going to get you until the show is done and over with and you can't listen.
I just wish Christmas shopping was easier. I wish that they would send out in the newspaper or publish different deals. Husbands, here is an itinerary, a list of all the proposed Christmas gifts you can get your wife. Instead of... Go ahead.
They have those on the internet. If you knew how to use a computer, they have those. Do you want me to text it to you?
Please.
Okay.
Okay.
You got it.
All right, tomorrow's Thursday. And you know what that means?
That means we are going to be running, buddy. Oh, and tomorrow is also Lunch Bunch Day.
Yeah, Lunch Bunch tomorrow at 11:30 at Perkins. Yep. Don't forget, it's the Christmas and Thanksgiving combo. And then also, Thursday means that we've got all kinds of interesting people like Rita Ramsey and Ken Mort, Dog Nation. And also at 10:30 tomorrow, I got to tell you that we've got Kyle Olson. He's going to be coming on talking about Common Core education from back in Michigan. And all kinds of goodies. But boy, am I glad you said that, because we got a lot of Christmas things to remind people of, and Lunch Bunch is very important. We're going to have a gift for everyone at Lunch Bunch tomorrow.
Plan on me being there.
I'll look forward to it.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll saddle the horse at 8:06 tomorrow morning and ride for 3 hours on Zeb at the Ranch, K-Bar 1230, and streaming live on the net, ZebBell.com. The way things were, the way things ought to be. God bless. Have a great day.